Basically replaces all of these different separate apps and put it into one where you've got a card, you've got a bank account, an actual bank account, you've got crypto and everything around it. Think of yielding, think of trading eventually. That's something that we're exploring as well. So just an all-in-one app. And that's really the shift that we're making. And this today on your show will be the first time that I'll actually say the app is going to be rolled out in the next 24 hours. So there's your alpha. There's your alpha. And I'm going to show you the app right now. So I'm going to do a little tricky thing. I'm going to switch my camera to my MacBook, which is on my desk, and I show you my phone so that you actually can see how it looks like on your phone. I will give you guys as one of the first access to test it.
Let's go.
But yeah, we've got the card ready, and we've got actual bank accounts ready. Those will be rolled out soon with a partner that will announce soon. But yeah, let me just get the app, and then you guys
do it.
Let's see it, dude. Let's see it. Let's go. Yeah, round of applause, Peter. Starting us off. There we go. This is great to see again. Karma, another one that started actually not even as a banking app in the early days, and believe, and now it's completely transitioned. We're seeing the pivot so beautifully. Here we go. I'll full screen this. All right, you're good to go.
There you go. You see it, right? Okay.
Yeah, we see it.
So I've got it on the bottom, of course, with one of the other apps. And basically,
wait a minute. That's alpha. That's alpha. That's alpha.
Oh, wait a minute. So basically, how it will look like is very simple. First of all, the first new functionality that we have is an actual wallet. It's kind of foggy on the screen, but it's an actual wallet. Is it mirrored, by the way? Let me just.
It's working now.
Is it mirrored? Like,
no,
the right way?
Yeah,
yeah, you're good.
Okay, perfect. So basically, there's an actual wallet which you can use to receive funds into, which replaces, well, makes it all easier on your phone, right? Before this, you needed to use Phantom Wallet, connect it, so you still need to use an external wallet. Now you just create a wallet in the app.
Real quick. Oh, there you go. I just want to make sure it looks right for the clips here. There you go. It's good. It was blurry a little bit. I don't know why.
Okay. Well, there you go. So yeah, first of all, we've got our own wallet. This is all non-custodial, so you can export it. You can use it to do whatever you want. You know, it's all yours. Like, we don't own it. It's your keys. Second of all, you now have IBANs directly linked to that wallet. So I can share this with you guys. You can just transfer me money, and it will, convert into USDC and be up here in my Karma wallet. Now, the actual main thing that everyone was waiting for is the cards, and I'm happy to say that they're finally here. We've got two cards that we're starting with: the signature card and the black card. Both will eventually be token gated. I think that's the first utility that's, like, important to mention here. So yeah, the black card, there will be a certain amount of token that you need to help and eventually stake with certain benefits as well. And the signature card will be available for every holder to start off with. So if you haven't signed up yet, if you go to karmapay.xyz /cards waitlist, if you sign up there, you'll be able to sign up within 24 hours and receive an email link to download the app and test flight. So let me just go ahead and click on get signature card. And
are there any restrictions with this? Like, is this barred from certain countries, or curious?
So it's an international card program. We're first starting with almost every country in the world except for the US, which will be rolled out in a few weeks. But basically, no. So the list is much more bigger than we had previously. For example, previously, the Netherlands couldn't sign up. Some other countries in the world couldn't sign up either. And now we're, well, first of all, working with different partners for the banking as well. We're going to add more countries through another partner. I don't know why it's not sharp, but there you go. So yes and no. There are a few countries, but most of the users will probably be able to sign up.
Both Android, iOS?
Both Android and iOS. So we're starting with iOS. Android will roll out in a couple of weeks. But yeah, let me just show you how it works. So first of all, I just created my card. This card has its own wallet. So this is like, I can publish the non-custody architecture we have on the back, but this is all isolated. I can top it up here with the balance that I have on my main wallet. And I can add it to my Apple Pay. So let me just do that. I'm just going to review my card details. If you want, you can use it in a minute to pay. I'm going to wallet, click on add, debit card, add a different card. I can space it in here.
No, I'm not gonna lie. Being able to use tap to pay is sick.
Dude, this is awesome.
Let me see. What was it? 32? 349. There we go. And it should show up in my Apple Pay, and I could set it as my default. So the next time,
no.
Well, that's right.
I had it added already.
Guys.
Yeah, I had it already. I froze this card previously, so maybe that's why. But yeah, so you can basically set it as your default card. All you will need to do is just top it up here. We're starting with, this is a transaction that I did earlier. We're starting with USDC only, but soon in a couple of weeks, you'll be able to do other tokens as well. We're starting with high liquidity tokens. So for example, you can hold your Sol. And if you think like, hey, Sol's pretty cheap right now, it will go up probably, in the next couple of months. You can just hold your Sol in your wallet. And as price appreciates, you will benefit from it. And whenever you need it, you just double tap and use your card to pay in the store, and they will go convert the SOL to USDC and use it for the transaction.
So this is pretty wild. I can absolutely see myself using USDC or stable to have in my wallet to spend. Can I connect? Can you connect to a wallet, or do you have to send it directly to the card or the app?
So currently what we do is we create a new wallet for you. This you can export as well, but yeah, it's basically a non-custody wallet as well. And then you send the funds to this wallet. So how it will look like in app is you can hold any other token here as well while being non-custodial. It is an idea that we have that you can actually connect it to your existing wallet, but there's some edge cases there that we still need to find a way to cover, such as you trying to pay in a store and at the same time trying to transfer it, right? So we need to come up with a mechanism so that fraud is basically not possible, but eventually it will be possible as well.
Interesting. So what do the fees look like? Because I could if the fees are equivalent to what I would be spending with a normal credit card or the processing fees, that'd be very interesting. How does that work? What do the fees look like? What's your take home? Because I could start seeing myself spamming this. And what are the insurances? Is my money always going to go through if I need a refund on something? How do they refund me? Does it go straight to the card? Curious on all that stuff. I know there's a lot, and we can go one by one if you want.
Good question. So let me just first show you the last thing that will be related to this before I can put my face on the camera again, because I think maybe better. So first of all, let's start with the costs and the rewards, right? Because most of these cards have cashback, right? This is something we looked into, and one of the main things that we want to do is, again, coming back to what we were talking about earlier in this conversation at the start, you want to somehow link the token to the product, right? And for token holders to get exposure for product growth, meaning the more volume we do, the more fees we get, the more token holders indirectly benefit from it, even if it's a gamified in-app experience, so to say, just for legal reasons. I'm saying that, so the way that we went about engineering the way we reward users is different than the regular card program where you've got cashback. And instead, what we've done is we've added karma points. So it's not out there yet, but basically how this will look like is on every transaction you do, you earn karma points. The more tokens that you hold, the higher a multiplier gets applied on your karma points. Meaning, if you, for example, just download the Karma app, you don't hold any tokens at all. On every transaction you do, on every dollar you spend, you get 1 karma point. If you're a token holder and you have over 1 million karma, just as an example, for example, there will be a multiplier that gives you 5x, right? So 5 points per time. Now you're wondering, what will these karma points do? There's a SocialFi leaderboard, and at the end of each month, the highest ranked users will benefit from a reward pool. This reward pool will be funded by the fees that we get through the app, but also the token. So indirectly, the more karma tokens you hold and the more you use the product, the higher percentage you get from this reward pool, which is funded again from all of the revenue that we're doing. So it's kind of a gamified experience of sort of tapping into ICM. Let me just switch over the camera, but it's a gamified experience to kind of tap into ICM and creating product like exposure towards token holders. Coming back to the fees now, don't that in mind. We actually had to charge a percentage, but I was like, that's not scalable. So we talked internally, and I was like, well, if we want mass adoption, I mean, let's be real. You will probably not switch from your existing bank account to a stablecoin alternative or a crypto alternative if it means that you spend, if it costs you 0.5% extra, right? You will not do that. So instead, what we'll do, and I know a lot of crypto alternatives do this way. Instead, what we'll do is we'll charge this very small flat fee. This will be a couple cents, and this will largely go to the rewards pool, which you'll be able to indirectly get back as a cashback at the end of the month. Wow. The exact fees I'll make sure to publish in the next coming days. I mean, we're rolling out the test flights, first users in the next 24 hours. We'll collect as much data as possible and define the actual fees, but it will be a couple of cents.
Okay, those updates were really crazy. So yeah, a few things I want to cover here. You just covered the fees. Let's talk about refunds, right? If I buy something, I want my money back. Do you guys take care of all that? How does that look?
Yeah, so we actually do. Just like any other credit card, so to say, because I need to legally call it a credit card because it is, even though it acts like a debit card. Just like any other credit card, you can open a dispute in the app, and just like that, just like any other merchant process that you do with your Amex or any other alternative, we'll go to the merchant. So like, hey, there's a dispute open, and then there's an automatic process that our partner takes care of, just like any other bank account, bank partner. You'll have this dispute case where you need to prove or submit some evidence, like you didn't receive it. This is your story. Just a regular procedure, but it is available, yeah.
And what about just straight refunds? I buy something, I go and take it back the next day. I spent $10 on it. Will I just get $10 straight back, or do I have to go through a whole?
You got it straight back.
Do you want to share your Met Davi experience, Dom?
Oh, dude, yeah, actually, that's
why.
No, so when we went to Abu Dhabi,
So,
dude, like,
I thought Dom
Yeah.
was gonna be sleeping on the streets, to be
oh
honest.
man, I thought I was cooked.
Really?
Oh, dude,
Is it
so
the last day when you guys left?
no, dude. So before I even got there, I booked I booked a spot for a pretty nice resort through like a third party booking site, right? So like a Trivago or they're third parties.
Yeah.
And they never confirmed. They never sent me an email confirming that I got my stay, or the hotel never did.
Okay.
And I was calling the hotel, so I wasn't in there. So I'm just like, forget this. I'm just gonna show up and wing it, and then deal with getting disputes going. I actually called to disputes like a few days before I left on the trip because I thought I was cooked. And then I actually walked it back after talking to Josh a little bit. I'm like, you know what? Cancel my dispute. I'm just gonna wing it and see if I can get a hotel. Luckily, I got there. Everything was good. The whole process was weird because they actually canceled a few days prior and then rebooked, and they ended up paying like way more money than I booked for to get me in there. So it was kind of crazy. But yeah, so I have to make sure my card can handle some disputes.
Yeah, this is why you don't click on travel sites through the ads.
I did not do
Yeah, it is. It's never do that again. I mean, I've had it so many times through these external sites where I booked the wrong date. Apparently, I'm like, no way that I booked the wrong date, but somehow they confirm it the wrong date probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. I mean, there's like a lot of these cases where you pay with your card and you're like, for example, something with flights, and the nice thing about us is we actually use Visa cards, right? So our partner is like using these Visa cards, issuing it. And so this card that everyone will get is a signature card, which means just like any other Visa card, you have the benefit of travel insurance, airport lounge access, and also I need to look into that, but also purchase protection. So whenever you need to go through this refund process, it's just like any other signature card, if you have any, it's a Visa support that you get.
Okay, nice. Rich had a question. He goes, "Why is SEP unavailable in the Netherlands?" I don't know if you have an answer for that. I have no clue.
So I need to confirm this, but the cards will actually be available in the Netherlands. For the accounts, it indeed was not available in the Netherlands through a partner, Bridge. But again, I'm not going to throw out the name here, but it will be available very soon once we announce it with an other partner with actual bank accounts.
Okay, there you go. Great answer. Clearly, Rich has been trying to get in there, so now we just maybe got a new user here. Also, you pull up the app. I saw the Kled app on the bottom. Kled is processing a lot of transactions. Any comment?
They are.
Do you care to comment? Do you care to comment on Kled?
No.
Do you care to comment on maybe a partnership?
There's nothing that I have to say about a partnership. I just have the app on my phone. I love how Afi built it. I think they're really like doing it in a way where I see ICM going in the future. If that makes sense. So if there's like any project that I would call sets the example for ICM, I'm saying Kled. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I mean, I like the app.
It's funny. We just had this conversation with Tom like before you came on, just about how crazy the Kled story is and how so many more people should be studying it because it's really inspiring actually. So there we go. Again, given obvious flowers. Hardware / cold storage. Are you guys interested at all in creating hardware at any point, or creating a cold storage I can maybe spend on? I see a couple people doing this. Zero as an example, creating a hardware wallet where it's actually fully encrypted and zero knowledge proofs, and it protects your identity and stuff. Is that something you guys have thought about internally?
Personally, coming from me, I would love to build a product that's actual physical, just between us. Like that's actual like something that's on my roadmap that I want to do sometime. So I would like to answer yes. But the truth is, like on the short term, no. Right. The first main priority is getting distribution in a place where you'll be able to launch such a hardware product on scale. So the first focus, I mean, especially this year, will be just getting as much as users on the app, getting the name out there, and then for sure, when the time is right, I would love to get a hardware wallet out there. I've been looking into it, and there's many ways to go about it. But especially if you've got an app already and you've got users already, it's very easy to integrate one. One thing I can say though is we will also launch on the Solana App Store. So indirectly, you'll benefit from a hardware wallet if you download it on your Solana mobile. But yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
And you guys again have been doing really well. And I added this to the stage. You guys had a daily all-time high in transactions processed, $80,000. How has growth been? I mean, that's incredible. You got people to spend $80,000 and trust you with that amount of money going through your system.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me a bit about that? How growth has been? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the last time on the show, I'm not sure how much users there were actually, but I think it was like 1,200. We did not spend a dime yet on paid marketing. Currently, there's like about 1,600 users or 1,550, somewhere in between. In terms of volume, it was actually very low when we were talking. I think I maybe shared it in private, but yeah. So basically, in the last 2 months, we've gained a lot of eyes, especially with the card coming up, and we've seen usage increase. This 80K day was something that came out of nowhere. It's definitely a spike. It's not what we do on daily, but it's definitely a milestone that I'm personally proud of, and that's why we decided on sharing it. Previously, we did 40K in the first month, then 60K in the second month, and then it just was in between 40 and 60. Again, this is only virtual events, right? So in reality, if you look at other projects, for example, Avicii is a great one. All of their transactions, if you look at their data, I think it's public. It's mostly cards, right? And this not only goes for them, but it goes for most of these other competitors out there, where all of their transaction volume is cards. So accounts wasn't in the first place a thing where I drive volume through, especially if there's a percentage that we charge, like 0.5% for a transfer is pretty hefty. But yeah, we other than that, I mean, people just probably wanted to try it out because the cards in the app was not out there, and so the increase in usage per month has been like between 40 and 100% in this month. But yeah,
Nice.
it's been very cool.
I want to ask you about the competitive kind of landscape. Like, what do you think Karma's kind of core product might be, or are these kind of more going to be based on marketing and user acquisition, the kind of differentiation and branding? Like one bank to another bank is probably very similar. I mean, they might change how many basis points they give you on fees or interest, but yeah, how do you think about like core product building in terms of where you guys sit in the others?
I think it's a cool question. Something I really thought about as well when I was starting, building Karma like as a neobank out and seeing all these other people trying to build a neobank as well. I mean, at
And
this
to your
point where
credit,
it's
you were
like,
fairly early. Like the neobanks
Yeah.
launching now are late.
yeah, I think we were actually one of the first, especially one of like the first on Belief, maybe the first on Meteor. I'm not sure, but yeah. So like, valid question. I think there's two ways to look at it. The first way is the technical standpoint, and to be fair, in the beginning, I was like, well, we basically use the same infrastructure as one of the tokens, for example, Avicii that we just mentioned. Like we use a very similar infrastructure. So how would we differ technically from those apps? And so I decided to go the hard route, and that's why the card was delayed. So just a TLDR, I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but we have like custom authorization access with those cards. That's the only way that a lot of those apps, if you're using one, cannot use Solana to pay in real life. They need to have a smart contract with USDC in it. We got access to do it in a way from the technical side that we can authorize and decide whenever we want we want to approve your payment. So just to give an example, one of the technical features that we're working on is that you'll be able to use and integrate a DEX or a SEX, CEX, of a long and short position that you've got open and use that as leverage collateral for your card payments. This is something that I've not seen before, where it's like you pay in store and you pay indirectly through a long position that you have open on, I don't know, like Solana Mobile Seeker, right? So you indirectly pay it without having any uses in your wallet. So on the technical side of things, we're looking at like custom solutions that's tailored to users, and I'm very excited to get user feedback on that also from you guys, from the use of the app. And then the second thing is indeed, like you said, user acquisition. I mean, when was the last time that you switched from your bank?
Dude, years.
That's what I mean.
As a kid, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, that's what I mean. So my point is the LTV, the lifetime value of an average fintech neobank customer is very high. It's very long. And so it's very important, especially now that we see all of these neobanks and stablecoins come up, that you're first, right? You need to somehow make it as easy as possible for someone that's entering this whole niche of neobanking to get it on their phone, sign up without much hassle, and basically nail the user experience. And the second thing is indeed going back to user acquisition. Lastly, aggressive marketing, and I think that's something that I'll be proudly, maybe share in the next feature on the show. That's something that we're heavily going to focus on: heavy user acquisition. I mean, the more users you have, again, they will probably switch banks in 5 years, unless I give them a reason to switch.
It makes sense. You're at this point now where you've built out a product. You're starting to really ship fast. Banking is sticky, and like you said, the average user stays along for a long time and spends a lot of money over the life cycle. So now the key is user acquisition, and you're dedicated to put a lot of effort toward that. How's funding going? I mean, that stuff takes money. Acquisitions is kind of a hurdle. Sometimes these are things that take a few years to actually become profitable if you really put down that hardcore marketing. Curious how your funding is looking right now, your runway, all that.
Yeah, good question. I'm very proud to say that I've been very conscious with the fees that we received from our token. So we've got plenty of runway. And I mean, at this stage, most of the parties that are out there publishing an app like this are funded or indirectly, have got investors. But we don't at all. Like it's totally like an actual, token funded project, which is very cool to say. And that's why I'm very excited to really give the token a place within the product. But the truth is, coming back to what I said earlier, you need to be the first to acquire these customers, right? I mean, now is the time now that you still don't got a crypto neobank on your phone, then I convert you into downloading Karma on your phone, right? Now is the time. So we're looking at raising, but one of the most important things I've talked with a few VCs is that we give the token a place in the structure. I mean, tokens normally are exit liquidity. I mean, let's be honest, right? You raise and raise and raise. You basically, the price gets higher and higher throughout the rounds. And then, you launch a token to basically liquidify the equity. That's mostly how it goes. And I think the ICM model that we're looking at here is totally different. It's funded by a token, right? It's the other way around. It's like the exit event already happened at the beginning. So there's like a very different routes that we're looking at going about funding. But one of the things that I'd like to talk about is, for example, SOAR and Street as well. Street is something that we've looked into as well. And we're talking with Mia to see, like, is there a way to give the token a place? Because I've talked with VCs and they are open, or not open. They want to, they're intrigued to invest, but only if the token gets an actual place within the whole funding framework.
Wait, say that again. So you're saying VCs are wanting to see the token be backed by something like equity?
Okay, so yeah. So basically, what they want to do is they want equity to be the value. And if you've got an asset that's not linked in any way to your company or to your product, which you still need to satisfy, they simply don't want to invest in it. That's my experience personally. And so what they want to do is they want to basically give it a place. So, for example, one of the VCs that I talked to, they were interested, or this was an angel investor that indirectly was correlated to a VC, but he basically was interested to talk only if we use the Street model in a way where a certain percentage is linked to equity, and so the equity is the main value instead of the token, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, this makes a lot of sense. We've been trying to crack it, so I'd love to hear your take here on tokens with equity, because you look at it, and again, I don't want to reiterate this for the chat because we've said so many times, but for the sake of this conversation, I will. You get these two buckets of tokens, right? You have tokens that have network effects, like the Bitcoins, like the Ethereums, like the Solanas, right? They have massive ecosystems and usage, so they have natural network effects. Then you have the tokens with underlying value, like equity. And so when you think of something, how can you combine that to get a token that has both, right? Think about something like the US dollar. We used to be on the gold standard. Now imagine if I was on the gold standard and every time I spent my money, we talk about credit cards here. Credit cards have processing fees. Instead of that processing fee, 2% processing fee, well, that actually took supply out of circulation. So now I have a token with network effect and usage, but also underlying intrinsic value. So every time I spend, the value of the equity that people hold actually becomes more valuable by nature and network effect of the business. So the question is, how can you crack into both of those? And I think you can have a token that has all these different benefits to it, like extra points, like burns, like platform usage, whatever it is. But for it to be truly valuable, you have to have some sort of underlying equity supporting that. Or in this case, it'd be equity. In some cases, it could be like, if it's a country, it could be minerals. Or if it's a company that has actual brick and mortar businesses, it could be physical material like gold, silver, whatever it might be. In this case, it could be equity because you don't have like the underlying infrastructure per se. So I don't know, just curious on your thoughts there. And like, what do you do now? What's the answer? You've told us, well, these VCs are interested in this. You're kind of interested in this. Where have you been leaning towards with your answer, your outcome?
I think my answer is very similar to your take on it. I think it's important to not just tokenize equity. And I think, there's many people that have talked about it before. We've been talking about it for like a year already. Tokenizing equity, there's many ways to go about it. You've got synthetic equity. You've got ways where you go into a debt agreement. You've got ways where you put the equity in SPV. Okay, sure, we know all of that. But I mean, is that really the reason that we trade tokens? Probably no. We trade tokens because of everything around it, just like you said, the actual utility, the actual community around it, the actual branding around it, betting on the founders, betting on believing, going back to believing. I mean, the concept was great. I mean, execution, sure, but the concept was great. And I think it's important to, even though we focus on equity, to really not forget that part. And I personally think we are going the right direction. Kind of looking into what you just said with, for example, the KP system we are announcing in our app, right? So indirectly, the more tokens you've got an actual reason to hold tokens and indirectly benefit from the product growth and the revenue we do through holding tokens in the app, right? But then on the other side, I think it's also very important to not just say like, hey, this is Fugazi, this is a token, this is basically something that you can hold and indirectly get exposure to the app. And if I ever exit the company, you get nothing for believing in me. Like that's like, the other side of things. So ideally, just to wrap it up, I want to do a hybrid approach where you go into a way, whenever a liquidation event happens, where investors come in and invest into equity, token holders somehow are involved in that process. And then on the other end, you still have got, the community, the utility around it, that it actually benefits the product. I mean, community built products are, in my opinion, still the future, where users iterate on the product and users indirectly own the product.
100%.
Because you guys, if you are using Karma, you exactly know what you want, what you don't like in the app, what you want in the app. And so somehow that needs to convert into ownership and actually realizing that.
I'd rather own my bank at $1 million market cap than the bank being at 60 billion. So there we go.
Also, Tom made a great point earlier when he was on. He said, look, people that own stock in a company tend to want to use that company,
Yeah.
right? So if you own stock in Ford, is the example he gave, they're going to want to go and buy a Ford. I think it applies to this exactly the same. If I hold Karma tokens, I'm going to want to use the Karma product.
Exactly.
And so, like, yeah, I could definitely see the value and alignment in that. Also, I just want to walk it back and touch on something. And Paula has some great questions I'm going to go to in a second here. But, you know, we talked about runway and how much capital you have. And you said, well, you haven't really been spending much. You've been a good steward of money. Something we've talked about is, you know, the stewardship of money and funds is so important. I remember last time we talked, you showed us your room. It was like a mattress on the floor and pretty much nothing else. It doesn't look like you're taking some absurd salary. It looks like you're being a good steward of money. Just tell us how important that is for a founder, especially when you're in these early stages of like building out something that wants to last.
I think it's actually the most important thing. It's actually funny that you say this because I've thought about this a lot. Where, if you say raising money, right? I think of Silicon Valley startups, especially in the last 5 years, and I mean, it's been basically the process has been a lot different now. It's harder to raise, but back in the day, a couple years ago, you could just raise money, you know, with just a random idea, get like 30 mil in the bank, and then basically people spend it relentlessly, like if it's not their own money. And so I heard, like, I don't know if you guys know the All In podcast. It's four billionaires that are basically talking every week.
Yeah.
One of them is crypto czar, like David Sachs. So basically, I don't know who, but someone on the pod mentioned it once, and I was like, basically what they were saying is, you need to first build your first company as a bootstrapper. Like, you need to, even though you've got funds, you need to go about it as a bootstrapper, especially in the current environment. VCs don't want to invest into an idea that's not profitable yet anymore. It's like the markets has changed. VCs now look into, oh, did you have market validation? How many followers do you have on X? Are you like funded? No. Okay. How long have you been building this for? How much did you spend? Like, you know, they want the hunger in you. So yeah, to just round it up, I think bootstrapping in general is something very underrated. And I absolutely love that people are starting to do that more now that AI is you know, getting more dominant. Like, everyone can build something these days. You just, you know, if you really want to, in a month, you can probably learn to code a very basic app. I mean, you see it all over my Twitter timeline. So I think it's very important, yeah, that especially in the crypto space, many people come and go. I'm very proud that after, like, how long is Token live for? 8 months already? Like, after 8 months, even though it started like a totally different experiment, I've been able to still be here, and I think that's the goal, especially
Totally.
for, yeah, you know, going into a bear market, for example. Bro, like, so many companies don't survive it.
Yeah.
Prepare your worst, you know, hold your stables, like, reduce your monthly expenses. Make sure that you can actually live. Like, if now everything goes to shit, I can still spend 12 months, and I've had companies before, right? So I've got a different position than some of the people that just launched, and like, it's the first company. I can spend like 12 months without any money, and in those 12 months, I'm talented. I'll find a way to get everything to work. I'll find a way to build the bank. Like, come on, you know, like, so
Fire
yeah,
me
I think
up.
it's a very important thing.
So the answer there is just a mattress still on the floor.
I've got a bet now. I must be honest.
Okay, all right,
So,
all right.
Well, he had
because
an
standing
80K
up,
volume.
Notification where the top places will basically share the rewards pool. So indirectly, if you're holding a lot of Karma, there will be a multiplier for every dollar you spend. Instead of getting 1 point, you get 5 points, and so automatically, organically, you'll rank up higher, and you'll get a part of this pool. Basically, indirectly giving you exposure as a holder and believer to the product usage. So one important thing to make this model legal, just to make it fully complete, of course, you only get points with using the app. So it's not passive income. It's not that you hold a token and you get rewards from the product growth. No, you need to use the app, right? But if you're an app user and a believer, so you hold tokens, you get product exposure.
And is the pool denominated in Karma? Like, are you taking revenues and buying Karma to put in the pool, or is it in dollars?
Yeah. So the idea is to indeed do a combination of buybacks and Karma. Like the rewards pool will be in Karma. So over the month, you also get activity on the chart as well, right? Like, the actual token gets actual usage, or like the rewards will be in actual Karma tokens.
Got it. That makes sense. And then Peter said, I don't know if Amrish already talked about this, but are there any advantages to the black card also as a physical card plan?
Good question. Physical cards are planned. Probably the first one will be available from next month, or no. I must say 1 month after the launch in the App Store.
Yeah.
one month after the launch in the App Store.
Remember, the internet never forgets.
Yeah. So yeah, let's do that. And then for the black card, we've got some benefits planned. We need to have partnerships to give the best benefits, so that's what we're working on. That's all I can say. But yeah, those still need to be announced.
Okay, this has been an incredible conversation. Tell us what's next. What's going on? You guys have got into a very impressive point. I think we've sat here and watched the entire journey, and it's pretty incredible to see you guys actually doing this, scaling, stewarding the money well, growing, going towards marketing. Now it's time to really roll this thing out and like get ahead of the curve. What's next for you? What's next for Karma?
I think finally everything's coming together. Instead of having a web app and sort of a half app, you guys, will probably also want to use like one app that does it all instead of using it for only banking services. In the practice, you don't. We finally are at a point where we've got this all-in-one app. The app, as you will use it, is very, very designed around simplicity. I want to make it as simple as possible for every user that downloads the app to get onboarded on crypto without getting the complexity around crypto and setting up wallets, right? So we simplify all of that. So with that said, our main focus will be onboarding people and mods through social media. And this is something where, all of my track record, like my 6 years, was spent in social media. Think TikTok UGC, ad campaigns. We're still in legal review so there's a lot of complexity around it. I didn't expect that, but to advertise at financial services, you need to get legal letters, actual audits of people saying hey, you can do that. But yeah, going out there and getting the product out there, getting actual usage out there. So if you are someone that was looking for a way to, bring your crypto and your trading experience to the real world in a way that is very seamless and simple and does not have the complexity of using multiple apps, I would like to ask for you to sign up to the Cards waitlist, and then I'll make sure that you get onboarded to the test flight and use the app. Even if it's for 3 days, use it. I mean, you'll probably not delete it, to be honest, but yeah, 3 days. That's all I need.
How sticky has it been? Your user base is growing. How has retention been?
So retention, to be very honest with you, on the web application is meh. It's not that good. And that's what the main reason that I really wanted to get the mobile app store, the mobile app out there, because I personally, I'm not sure. Okay, basically, this is a question you should ask, by the way, for every ICM project you invest in. Have you talked to your users? Because I personally have DMs open in my Telegram. I've got a tab with actual users where I ask them everything. I ask them I see that you haven't logged in for two weeks. Because I again, it's not privacy. I've an open conversation with them. But yeah, I just ask them hey, what's the reason behind it? Yeah, it's not like a fan calling you.
Hey, Dom, you
"Hey,
haven't
why
wired
did you log in?"
$50,000 this week.
We're starting with the bang. Fuck all this. How do I get my screen up here? I'm starting with the Penguins.
Boom.
Start with the Penguins. Yo, chill, my guy. How are you doing?
Boys. It is good to be back. It is good to be back.
Yeah, good to have you. Good to have you. All right, video with the Penguins. I can't hear what you're doing, but play it with some volume. Unless there is none.
No vol.
You're kidding me, dude. You're kidding me. I get so hyped for the Penguin. It's got no volume.
No volume.
Whatever,
Run it
dude.
back though. I want to listen.
Oh man, I got 6 Penguin videos queued up. They got me going pre-show, dude.
We're about to freaking rip through them. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Dude.
One in the center. None of them
We here?
caught our eye.
Yeah, we're good.
One in the center. He
Let's
would
go,
neither
boys.
go towards the feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. With 5,000 kilometers ahead of him, he's heading towards certain death.
Chad.
But why?
Chad. But why? Why?
Inspirational.
Very
Sensational.
inspirational. Oh my goodness.
Dude, I honestly, Penguin to a Billy, man. Who cares?
Penguin to $1 billion, bro.
To a Billy.
Bigger than
I'm not gonna lie.
Fartcoin?
All right, my beloved Fartcoin. But I'm bullish on the Penguin, but I'm also bullish on Fartcoin.
Why not be bullish on both, man? I mean, but Fartcoin doesn't get you going like the Penguin does, man.
Yeah, that part.
What's up, Abe? Big Chill. Welcome back.
Abe.
Welcome back, Chill. Good to see you back again from Mr. Killer. Dude, lots of love for Chill. We missed him.
Appreciate the love, y'all. Appreciate the love.
Chill. How was the trip, dude? You ready to get back into the
Dude.
trenches?
Dude, I'm ready. I've been ready, and Ave knows I've been ready. Me and Ave have been trading a little bit Going into some similar bags. Been calling each other out on the timeline.
Chad?
Yo, Ave, I love that, by the way. When you tweeted at me about that, yeah, love being in the same bags with you, brother. Love trading with you. But yeah, man, dude, stoked to be back. Had a nice little vacation to Thailand. Went to Japan, went to Tokyo, went to Thailand. Couple cities in Thailand. Went to Phuket.
That's where
went to
them
Bangkok.
lady boys are at, right?
Whoa, I'm not gonna lie. I did see some. Not gonna lie.
Really?
I was like, whoa, this is this is
How close
not
are we
even-
looking here?
no, not that.
Were you
close.
sure they were lady boys? Did you
Oh,
confirm?
Yeah, are
I
you
did not. I did
verified
not.
or
I did
what?
not. I did not verify. I did not get that close to verify. I just, I proceeded with caution.
Valid.
But nah, solid. Good food. Tried a bunch of stuff out there. A bunch of just food I've never tried before. Ate crickets for the first time. Out there, vibing.
How are those?
Crunchy.
Yeah.
Crunchy. But nah. Honestly, I gotta go back to Tokyo. Of all places, I gotta go back to Tokyo, man. We spent a few days there. We were at this this spa right next to Mount Fuji. You had views. You were just sitting like, oh man, it was amazing. It was amazing. A sight I've never seen before, but I will see again. I can tell you that much.
Man, Tokyo's
Yeah.
a dream, dude. That's awesome.
But yeah, man, dude, I'm stoked to be back, man. I'm stoked to be back, ready to dive into the trenches. I feel like it's a perfect time. Stuff has been heating up on chain. We've seen tons of things ripping. I saw you guys covering all of that stuff like GSD and stuff like that. But we all know the Penguin ripped. Let's rip into another Penguin video.
Yeah, I mean, we got to. I got like 4 for us. So.
What's your dream? To go away.
To go away. That's great.
Do you guys want to drink? I don't understand why everybody has to be so judgmental. I understand why mom's judgmental. I think it's because she cares partially. I think it's also partially because everyone else is looking at her like, hey, Cody's just a bum. Cody's this, Cody's that, Cody's this. Cody's me, bro.
Cody's me,
Let
bro.
me be me.
Let me be me.
Cody's
What's
me,
your-
bro. Simple as, bro. Simple as. I got another one for you guys. Don't worry. A little longer. I think this one really gets me going. One of my favorites, actually.
Oh my gosh. After these videos, you have to break down what's going on here because, like, the penguin just.
Oh,
ran.
no. The people know what's going on here, baby. The people know what's going on.
Oh, sorry, kid. You know, we lose a few eggs every year. It's just nature.
Oh, right, nature. I guess that makes sense, but something deep down in my gut tells me that it makes no sense at all.
Mm.
You know what? I reject nature. Who's with me?
But one of them caught our eye, the one in the center. He would neither go towards the feeding grounds at the edge of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But why?
Man, reject nature, baby. Jeez Louise.
I don't know about you guys. It feels like being in crypto. Feels like you're the penguin going to the mountains. I don't know about you guys.
I mean, dude, that's why it's hitting so hard, right? We are the penguin. We're the penguin. It's so good, bro. It's so good.
Dude, that like lower end bass came in there at one point. I was like, holy, this is the vibe where you see those videos of like these coffee shops that have popped up and then they're just like doing like dance music or something at 9 a.m. in the morning. That's feeling the vibe here.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Let's check the penguin chart real quick.
Yeah, let's
let
dive
me
in
pull
here.
Let me pull the penguin chart. Yo, guys, I got some stuff for y'all I want to talk about today, chat. Like, I hope you guys are ready. Like, this is gonna be. I told y'all before. I don't know if you remember my very last stream. I said, guys, I'm gonna leave you with some deep alpha, and I dropped the tomato coin.
Mm.
And I hope you guys enjoyed that because the tomato's not done. But let's look at this this penguin chart. So I just put out a tweet and I said, "Am I the only one that thinks this can go to a Billy?" And I don't know. It's just I'm just getting a feeling. I'm just getting a feeling. But you can draw some lines out and we can kind of get a sense of what we're looking at here. You know, there's some kind of some structure forming. I think it's just too early to really look at anything on Penguin. As far as like structure is concerned, I want to see some PA develop. Is this going to be like a huge next leg here, or is it just going to kind of be or is it just going to be like, you know, are we going to break down more? But I will say this, the falling wedges have been playing out on chain for months. And as you guys can see right here, this nice little falling wedge holding above support, it's not looking too bad here. So I know that, you know, I know it's a meme coin. It went, you know, 0 to 100 real quick. I get it. But you know, I want to see some PA develop, but I'm saying it's looking good. And I'm not a holder, by the way. I'm not a holder. I think that I covered this over the weekend. During Q4 2024, we had literally hundreds of tokens give you 10 to 100x returns. Multiple tokens went above $1 billion. What we need is a front runner. What we need is someone to bring the confidence back. Let the trenches know that this thing can happen again. And who better to do it than the Penguin?
Mm.
That is my simple thesis, and that is the mountain that the Penguin is headed towards, $1 billion. If it dies, it dies. You know, it knows that, but it's headed there anyway. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I like what the Penguin stands for. I like the message of the overall meme, but I also like the chart. The chart is looking absolutely fire.
Banger. Look, dude, define nature of the Penguin. Send him to $1 billion. Send him to $1
Just
billion.
for the sake of the Penguin, man. Just for the Penguin.
The trenches need the Penguin. Trenches need the Penguin, baby. We need the Penguin, baby. Let's go.
Yo, these videos are so hard. These videos.
Yo, shout out Linkin Park too, honestly.
Shout out Linkin
Yo,
Park.
rip my guy. Rip to the guy. One of my favorite bands of all time. I guess you guys want to start top down here. I don't know how you guys want to approach this today.
I got an update that just came through that I feel like we got to cover real quick before we
hit it.
Urgent update.
You guys see the Kled update? Holy cow, this is nuts. Now, this is like what the difference is between a company that raises 100 mil and a company that's worth $1 billion. I'm going to read you through this post that Avi just put out. It's nuts. It's full of bangers, though. So there you go. You can see the bounce going on there. You want to talk about this chart before I get into that?
Nah, look, guys, I literally just told you guys about the falling wedge, and you can see it playing out. It probably looks better on the 4-hour. But literally, these falling wedges have been playing out so beautifully on chain. You can literally see it there, and then you can see it right. Let's just call it right there. But you can see these falling wedges. They literally markets pump. They retrace on a bad Bitcoin day, and a bunch of these falling wedges start to form, and they break out. We'll cover another one, but this one here is Kled, and it looks actually pretty solid. Go ahead and cover the catalyst.
Yeah, dude, but that's what you can attribute price action to is these bad Bitcoin days. Nonetheless, if you guys think back to Kled from the early days, what was the biggest question about Kled? Okay, you can get all this demand in, people can upload these AI images, or you can get all the supply inbound from people uploading pictures, images, videos, but you need demand, right? You need a buyer, a marginal buyer. That was the biggest question. Do these AI labs actually want this data? This update from Kled is insane. It's insane. So here's what Avi said recently. Banger post, and there's a few updates in here that are just so sick. CLED version 3 is coming. Over $20 million in rewards will be paid out directly to users from leading AI labs across robotics, legal services, image and video generation, world modeling, and more. In the last 7 days, we've received inbound data requests from several Datacorn AI labs and enterprises from datasets our human data marketplace is uniquely positioned to provide. That alone is a massive headline. Massive headline. Over $20 million in rewards. That means there are buyers for this data. That was the biggest gap for CLED. The idea is great. We know in theory AI needs this human data to train. We know in theory that even outside of AI, governments, cities, like whatever it might be, needs some of this very highly specific human data. But do they want to buy it? Right here would indicate yes, they do. And of course, we know that they had a very viral video. We know every VC in San Francisco is calling Avi right now, trying to get a piece of CLED. It seems that outside of just VCs calling to get a piece of CLED, there's a lot of inbound interest from, a lot of inbound demand interest from data labs and whatnot. So I'll continue. Since receiving the specs for these requests, we now have a much better picture and understanding of how to reshape the system that collects this data. So here's what's coming. Okay, so here's what's coming for CLED. So boom, 20 million payouts come in. Let's get into it. Automated quality enforcement at scale. New ML systems are being built to evaluate task-specific requirements in real time. For example, if a task requires 2 hands visible on camera at all times, any video that fails, that spec will be automatically rejected. This logic will apply across thousands of tasks and specifications using general ML. Why is this important, guys? I'm sure you've seen this, but Google, many other companies have been buying these companies that are solely here just to do data labeling. Data labeling companies selling for billions and billions and billions of dollars. So it's important that this data is labeled correctly. This is what they're honing in on here, based on how I'm understanding it. This is so cool. Number 3 here. Like, this is what sets CLED. Like, this is so cool to me. CLED Shop. Some tasks require better capture hardware. We're introducing CLED Shop, where users can redeem points or tokens for equipment like Meta glasses, drones, and other tools. Points and tokens can be converted directly from payouts. Think about that for a second. The big thing with CLED is we know that there's going to be a 10% equity anchor to it. So now we know the CLED token has intrinsic value. What have we been talking about on this channel? Well, now we need to tie some sort of gamified layer to it. We need network effects from the CLED token. Well, guess what? We have millions of dollars being made from CLED. Now these people say, well, I just made $1,000. I just made $2,000. There are certain tasks that I can't do, but they pay out more, but I don't have the drone. I don't have the equipment to do it. Well, I can now use my CLED. I can now use my payout. I can use my points to go and buy this equipment to actually do better in apps. So now they're implementing a gamified element to it, which I just think is phenomenal. And so they're going to have this CLED shop. And I'll get more into that because there's a comment on this as well. Number 4, partner-run data labeling and evaluation work. Some of our partners operate high-paying data labeling and model evaluation programs. This is so sick right here. We're integrating their workflows directly into CLED so qualified users can access these roles in one place. These jobs are owned and managed by our partners. CLED's role is to route the right people to the right work. Some opportunities pay $50 to $1,000 per hour, depending on the expertise. So now we got, what we're seeing here is basically lots of perks for power users of CLED. Lots of perks for power users of CLED. And I'll cover that at the end here. Number 5, global payouts and localization. We're partnering with a major payment processor to enable cash out in users' native currencies. This unlocks broader global participation. Multi-language support is also coming to accelerate user growth. Obviously, they need this. They're blowing up in a lot of different countries, like many countries. This is blowing up on. They've got hundreds of thousands of users already, so things are rolling. Finally, this full suite of tools will be rolling out soon directly to CLED users. Top earners are currently making $7,000 per month. With this update, we should see the first $10,000 per month earner. In the comments, we got CLED as well. They said hardware in the CLED shop will be manufactured by us, plus a select few partners. Our goal is to turn every person into the most powerful version of a data contributor they can be, similar to upgrading your car if you're an Uber driver. I think that last line kind of drove it home. And I'm going to let you guys comment on this too, because I think it's wild. But this is insane. For me, it seems like CLED now, they have the proof that it works. They have the proof that there's demand. And now they're saying, guys, we want to just take this to the next level. If you're a power user, you're going to have access to job opportunities that we give you based on your expertise. You're going to have access to buying equipment from the shop and becoming more of a power user, just as Uber drivers can upgrade their car for Uber. Same thing. And they're really trying to push for these higher payouts. That being said, on by this. Chill. Josh, what are you guys thinking? This is huge.
No, that's actually kind of crazy. 20 million in rewards. And I like that kind of like access to jobs feature as well. But I mean, they're pulling from pretty much look at all these sectors: robotics, legal services, image video generation, world modeling. Like they're all I mean, we all know what kind of founder Avi is. We've been covering him for months now. So this shouldn't surprise us, but it's still amazing to see. I mean, imagine being in 2017 and saying that, and saying and talking about Kled back then. I feel like Kled has had more like traditional adoption and interest generated in it more than most of these top 300 tokens in crypto, right? Like Kled is doing work, man. Kled and Avi, they're doing work, and
mass onboarding event. So I think it's a good one. If we have nothing more on Kled, I would like to get the Kled Orgo barbell going here for the Street Foundation segment, let's say. So Dom, if you have anything else to add here.
No, I just think people should really internalize this and take some time to read through this, because this is wild. Like this to me sets up Kled, I think, for that unicorn, $1 billion company status. Again, I just want to reiterate. Go ahead, Joe.
Now, I'll just say this one last thing. Remember, Axie Infinity blew up because of the opportunities that it provided people, and primarily in third world countries. But again, it's another way to generate revenue for yourself. It's really a side job for people. This could turn into a side gig for people where they can actually get paid. And this is where adoption accelerates, when people can actually make money. That's what happened to Axie Infinity years ago. And so when people find out that they can actually live off the money that they make from Kled, I think that that'll become a huge unlock. But we're getting very close to that moment. Very close.
I was going to literally touch on Axie Infinity as well, because it seems like there's a real push here for gamifying this to where they do build a whole ecosystem with the Kled token here. And again, it's just a reinforcing ecosystem. And when you do have these users that are trying to boost their payouts, earn more money, it is crazy. Crypto Jones, I thoroughly disagree with this comment. Kled trying to run before its mouth started walking could be a sell news event. We're at $27 million market cap. That is literally below fair value. What's really interesting here is, for the first time in history, Kled has built a token that is more valuable on chain than the actual tied equity, than the actual equity tied to it. The only difference here is an SPV is going to hold the equity. So you actually aren't an owner of the equity. It's an SPV, and it's assumed to be owned by you. So there's that. That's the one downside. But outside of that, the token now is more intrinsically valuable than equity, because you own the equity by holding the token. On top of that, now you're benefiting from the buybacks that are going to be coming from this $20 million that's coming in. You're going to be benefiting from the deflationary nature of it. You're going to be benefiting from the gamified nature of it, and the in-app perks and whatnot that you get. So I just think that's mind-blowing that there is a ongoing raise right now for a number that we assume is $300 million based on last reports. Could be higher, honestly, based on some of the stuff I'm seeing. But a $300 million raise, the token's trading, we know at least 10% is going to be tied to equity. It's trading at 27 million. So it's below that 30%. Not only that, the token's going to have these deflationary and flywheel effects to it, which is mind-blowing to me. So like, there's actually an arbitrage situation here where you're getting a better deal than a lot of these VCs, other than the fact that you don't physically hold the equity yourself. You have to trust the SPV that's going to be tethered into.
Can we pull up Orgo?
Yes.
So the reason is these two tokens are tied together just from an eco standpoint. Both are going to be launching on Street. I mean, they already have tokens, but there's a migration happening. But over the weekend, the biggest theme is everyone going out and buying Mac Minis to spin up agents on top that have persistence and are constantly doing things for you. And what's really interesting about Orgo from a macro thesis here is that you can essentially spin up virtual machines to have those agents on
through computer use and do that at scale. So instead of going out and buying 10 Mac Minis, which each one costs, I think, $2 or $3 grand, you could go spin up for $20 an hour, I believe Spencer said, 100 different virtual machines for your agents. And then Orgo has technology that all those VMs are speaking to each other through a machine-to-machine protocol. And there's a number of other features that they have there. But this chart looks great. I think this is going to do extremely well. And I do have some content to share around Thesis here. So I'm just going to go ahead and
in that private chat, I also sent the video that went viral on Orgo.
Yeah, we'll
pull it up and play that.
Yeah, we'll run that video in a second. So just so to get the understanding of what's going on here, I was sorry for the glitch in there, but Donnie here, seeing ClaudeBot run permanently with its own computer feels like the first step toward mass personalized assistants that truly know your stack without needing you to babysit them. And then Nick, who is on the Orgo team, will be on MCG tomorrow at 2 p.m., said bingo. Now, these are going viral. Like, this is like probably the biggest thing on CT over the weekend, other than Penguin, was these bots or were these agents. You can see there's videos here. So this video has 700,000 views of this guy going and buying a Mac Mini and basically setting up his full-time AI bot. Now, he's not using Orgo, but the solution that Orgo has as kind of the key point here in our due diligence, the solution that Orgo has is even better because you can spin these up at scale. And so let me, I think I had Nick's video teed up, but I seem to have lost it. So let me see if I can...
And I have it in the private chat as well if you
Do
want.
you? All right, perfect.
On this
Thanks,
note as
Nick.
well, these things are getting millions. He just pulled up on 700K. Alex Finn posted one with multi-millions of views. I'm seeing articles everywhere getting hundreds of thousands, millions of views. Like, it is, for those that aren't on this side of Twitter, it is popping off.
1.2 million views, and like Nick dropped this just as we went off stream, funny enough. So I'm going to play this real quick. It's a short clip.
Mac Mini to install ClaudeBot on top of it. If you don't know what ClaudeBot is, it's essentially a way that you can connect everything like Discord, everything. You can see me in the reflection. Everything that you would need your AI assistant to have, Claude running on a Mac Mini would have it running 24/7. But the thing is, you can actually do this in Orgo. And what I did was I can text ClaudeBot from my phone as my own personal assistant. It could book calendar meetings for me. It could see all my files. It could do everything for me that a great assistant could do. And I could ask from my phone. So watch this. Let's search up funny cat videos on YouTube. So I say that, I paste that here, and I send that off. And now ClaudeBot, which is 24/7 running in the cloud on its own computer, is going to go do that. Now, can you imagine? It's so fast. It's so fast. It's crazy. Okay, so can you imagine? This is just one ClaudeBot running. What if you could have 10 of them? What if you could have 100 of them? You can actually do that right now. There's no reason you can't do that. So in fact, I think in the next video, I'll probably end up putting all of them in a group chat. You can see ClaudeBot replied. It's telling me what it sees. Like, guys, this is the future. If you want to build on top of ClaudeBot, if you want to use it without having to buy a Mac Mini, go to Orgo. You get a free computer for free. It's like $20. You get 10 ClaudeBot computers. This is exactly the kind of use case that, we've been cooking up. So
you guys heard it there. 10 computers for ClaudeBots that are being provided through Orgo. They're giving away some of it for free just to kind of get you as a user. But man, I think this is like, we've kind of looked around and said, well, what's the thesis for Orgo? Obviously it's computer use, but how does that like scale in a meaningful way? Like, even when I demoed Orgo live on stream, it was still me kind of prompting it, kind of like ChatGPT. Yes, it was using computer use, which was really cool. It was using a Windows machine and a Linux machine and going and opening things and downloading files. And in other videos, Nick actually says, like, this has all access to all my files. This has access to my credit card on my computer and everything. So it's all teed up and ready to go. I'm trying to see if maybe that other video. Let's see this one.
I don't know if this is the one that says, anyways, you get the point. But this is highly scalable stuff, and Orgo is infrastructure here. So to summarize with Street Foundation, you have Cled coming down the pipeline. You have Orgo coming down the pipeline. 2 A+ like top tier AI startups that are scaling out really, really fast and could benefit each other just from an eco standpoint. So I'll cap it there. Chill. I don't know if and the chart looks, I mean, the chart looks amazing too. So
Yeah, no, Orgo looks absolutely insane. Yeah, I mean, look, we've covered Orgo ad nauseum for months and months and months, and we've watched them. We've watched Spencer build and network and grow his pipeline. We've seen him connect with VCs. He's doing all of the work in the back end, and literally the only on-chain exposure that you can get to this narrative, because we've seen the Claude narrative, right? We've seen the Claude narrative kind of pop up. You can call it AI 2.0 season, if you will, if you want to kind of put it in that bucket as well. But for the most part, those tokens are mainly meme coins. And the only kind of ownership token, the only real product or real way to get exposure from a product perspective, from an actual project doing something outside of just kind of, there's other coins like GSD and stuff like that, but I still feel like those are more kind of memetics. Whereas this is an ownership token. This is the only ownership token where you can get exposure to this narrative. And obviously, what Nick said in the video with, us spinning up, with them spinning up potentially, thousands of these at a time, that's going to be huge for productivity. It's going to be a huge offering to companies. And we're already seeing, people get displaced, in places like the UK. I don't know if you saw that, but, a lot of people are already getting displaced by some of these AI solutions.
I did not see that, but I can imagine it. So very cool. That's the thesis there. What else do you want to go through kind of the tickers in chat there? I know, Chill, you had some like Soul and GSD and PsyUp Anime, I think would be good to go through.
Yeah, I can run through some of these. Yeah, guys. So before I left, let's pull up. Let's start with Soul. Let's start where we came from. Let me see here. Here it is, Soul. Pretty sure this is the one.
And
Yep,
Chill,
so-
dude, we had been talking about Soul. As soon as you left, Soul started popping off. We're like, dude, Chill's not here to come and like celebrate with us. Josh and I are stuck talking about Soul Tomato. We have like no info on it, and it was popping the fuck off since you mentioned it.
Yeah, dude, it's insane. Just you have a non-living thing growing and taking care of a living thing. I think that's going to be a huge attention vacuum at some point. But there's something that I pointed out in a tweet that I posted, I believe it was earlier today. Basically just saying that there's been a lot that the Soul Tomato coin had to kind of fight against, even up until now, and it's still standing here. Let me share this tweet with you guys real quick. So here you have it. I said it's crazy how well the Tomato coin has held up. Vamping attempts, liquidity vacuums. We saw that happening with things like White Whale, with Penguin, with Ralph and Gas earlier on in the rotation. We saw rotation cycles from, oh, well, it's not Soul Tomato coin anymore. It's, something else that's taking the lead. The market cap is bigger. We've seen the narrative FUD come around, like, is AI 2.0 really going to stay? Is it going to be a narrative that sustains? Despite all of this, though, we are still holding fantastically in a nice buy zone here. I marked out this buy zone just about like almost a week ago in this tweet. And as you can see, when I posted this tweet, we were actually pumping, but I have some thoughts around Bitcoin and stuff like that. And, Bitcoin at this point, it'll have good days and bad days, and it's going to, create opportunities. But basically, I said that, Soul under 15 mil is kind of a buy to me. And so we are literally right now sitting in that buy zone. We're sitting in that buy zone. We're above a key level, and the tomato coin dev so far has been an absolute chat. What you want to see is stuff like GSD, where there's a developer that is doing everything right by the market and is then receiving clout. He's receiving kind of like relevance within the market, and that kind of creates its own narrative, and it's able to sustain its own, attention flywheel. So that's what I'm seeing on Soul Tomato Coin. Everything is looking good. Everything is lining up. Holders aren't even bothered by these dips. No one is really talking about the chart from what I've seen. I think this is a really massively good project, and I think the narrative around AI 2.0, I think that's going to actually be around longer than we might than some of us might think, actually. So I'm loving the way Soul Tomato Coin is looking here. Outside of that, there's another one that I wanted to cover, PsyOp Anime. I don't know if have you guys seen that one around anywhere?
For sure. It's pretty sick.
Dude, I personally love the way that it presents the information news-wise. I flagged this because of the attention that it's been getting on the timeline. One of the posts had about 2 million views, and another one had about 1 million, almost 1 million in like 48 hours. So again, trading attention on chain. These are meme coins. I get it. So kind of pursue at your own risk, if you will. But PsyOp Anime actually looks really, really nice here. And let me see. We can kind of see it forming some sort of bottom here. What I actually had some other things drawn out on a chart, but looking at it kind of just a naked chart like this, you can actually see it's forming a little bit of a bottom here. And I know some traders would actually force a head and shoulders on this chart, but I won't. But yeah, you can kind of see a bottom forming here. Looks really good. Outside of that, but yeah, PsyOp Anime, that's kind of the chart. Let me actually bring up a post that I did on PsyOp Anime just the other day that kind of highlighted the thesis rather well. So here is the thesis. 3 million impressions on a tweet, falling wedge pattern. I think that was at the time. Apparently they're hiring more artists. They're trying to make this like a full-on series. They're even hiring people to sort of translate, make sure the translations are as accurate as possible. And then you also have the attention flywheel with Elon and Mark Andreessen. Obviously, Mark Andreessen was recently, as you can see, his bio is Penguin. That was his recent, so we see how when he kind of like, I don't want to say pushes, but when he actually notices a narrative and points it out, it can really act as a tailwind. So here's the tweet. 3 million views here. That's one. And then there's another tweet that just the other day, by almost 1 million views here. So again, viral potential and looking good. How much have you guys covered Surge? How much have you guys covered that?
A good bit. We didn't talk about their new launch much, but it performed very well. Obviously, that was some guys that are close with Solana and the team over there. So I actually even heard it was totally in Mert's project, which I'm not sure is true, but yeah, absolutely. I'm electric about Surge right now. I'm gonna be watching it very closely. Not sure why they went with Radium. I think that was a bad move. But yeah, they're doing pretty cool stuff. They have 3 different types of launches. They have like they're curated, they have their decentralized, and they have one more. But yeah, Surge looks really good, and they have a massive AI pipeline. So I'm excited to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about Surge. I want to look into their tokenomics a little bit more. Like, I don't know if it's kind of ownership style or that kind of thing, that side of the equation. I'm not sure if it's just a token, if there's any claim over, revenue or IP or what have you.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk to the founder and get him on here. I would love to still talk to him because, I mean, for obvious reasons, we cover stuff like this. But that's the one thing I think Surge is lacking is they don't have an ownership model to it. I did see their model has like automatic buybacks and stuff. So a piece of the portion of the fees goes to automatically buying back the token. They have a few different structures of doing that. But you're right. There's no intrinsic value. That's the one downside of Surge. So maybe
That's
they change
the
it.
only question that I had. I will say this: their safeguards are nice. They have like you said, the automatic buybacks. They have like locking of the tokens, investing schedules, and stuff like that. So there's some protections there. I like that. I like directionally. I like where it's going in. I'd love to. I think if they put ownership in this thing, oh man, it's bulletproof. I think this thing would be bulletproof. All they need to be is just build on Meteora, a team that can actually help them on the crypto side, really get things going. But Surge looks really nice. I'm actually going to be stocking the platform. As you guys can see, they're coming out with basically, they're coming out with these gated launches, and you need to hold Surge tokens in order to get access to these launches. And you can generate a score based on your trading activity, your social media activity on X. And basically you can get like an allocation to some of these gated launches. So I think, Surge as a token, I think that's probably it's a higher cap play. So it's mostly one of those things where it's probably one of those things where, it's more built for size than anything. But if shout out, excuse me. If Believe was any indication of how some of these things could run, we saw how Believe, initially ran from such low market cap to really high. I think that actually serves as a good way to show us where Surge can go potentially in the future. And here's the chart of Surge as well. I mean,
it's an insane chart.
This thing looks primed, bro. This thing looks primed.
It's difficult to buy this high, right? After a pump like this, though it did get a reset. I think what I was waiting for Surge is, the platform launch might come with a sell the news, which it did. Like we got a little bit of a sell the news, but it didn't really sell off a ton, in compared to like the pump it made. Yeah, it looks really prime. Only a $43 million market cap. We know that's pretty cheap for launch pads, assuming that they have a few really good launches. They've already started off with a banger. So 43 mil is pretty cheap, all things considered, but it is kind of difficult to buy up here. Nonetheless, I don't know if you're going to get many better options. I think if you if you get back down here, and I'd love to know what you think, Chill, about your entry criteria. But if you get back down here, I think that's kind of going to be maybe one of your best bets below as we go.
Yeah, let me actually pull up the chart on my screen, and I'll kind of show what I'm looking at. I think that's actually a pretty decent area that you got marked out. I don't think mine is going to be much different than that. Maybe on the 4 hour, potential like Head and Shoulders, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I think around here is just about where you'd want to buy. Like a 40 mil. I honestly don't see it going much lower than this, if we're being honest. A chart like this that's pumped strongly off the bottom after consolidating for such a long time. We got the kind of major pullback that we wanted, but I don't think this goes much lower. I mean, look, maybe this is potentially what I'd be looking at. Let me just draw this out real quick. Boom, boom. And maybe we get something else like over here. I think so. That's why I say like around this area is about where you want to buy. I don't think there's going to be much more of a pullback than this. So I'll actually mark this buy zone out right here. And we had agreed to go green because my buy zones have been red ever since the start of the stream.
Good switch. Makes more sense that way. What was the name of the first launch that they had? Yona. We might have to research that later because we're kind of coming on time here for our guest. But Yona was their first launch. Maybe pull that up too and just see how that's doing. I know it went to like 15 mil out the gate, followed by Toli, Mert, but I think it's down around 5 mil now, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
The privacy
But
protocol.
Iona came from so low, though. What I love about these surge launches is some of them will be bonding curves. Jeez Louise, look at this chart. Is this the right one? No, it's not.
Holy.
Hold on.
Can't be
This
the
is
right
not
one.
the right one. This is not the right one. Let me you got to go through a couple of these to make sure. Yeah, no, that's not. Let
Let's
me
get you the
actually
CA.
let's go here. I got the website Surge pulled up. Here's Iona here. Looks like it's at 3.5 million market cap.
Yeah, 4.4 is what I'm seeing. Here, I sent the CA in private if you want it.
Appreciate you. Yeah, let me pop that in real quick to Moby. Yo, shout out Moby, by the way. Moby Mobile is going crazy.
Ripping.
But let's see here. So yeah, Iona went pretty crazy. It had its like pretty much its discovery candle. Let me actually go down to the 1 hour. It's probably a little bit better for
Starting to
us.
see a lot less volume around here. Might be an interesting time to consider DCAs if it's a good project, of course.
I think that's the thing. I'd have to scan fundamental side of things before I even consider a buy on this.
Right.
But I'm actually I think I want to wait for Surge to actually come out with something like, like a banger. Like this is, privacy. And again, like you said, caveat, we do have to look into it. I don't know what this project is, what it does. But it's privacy. And I mean, yeah, that's the narrative sort of, but I'm not sure how much of a bid this is going to get in an AI driven market, right? The short-term capital that all these launch pads are chasing, right now, that short-term capital is chasing AI. So that's the part that I'm still kind of wary of. What I'm actually doing, and I'll go back to this Surge website. What I'm actually doing is I'm taking later on today, probably I'll be looking into each of these. And by the way, I don't know if you guys remember, golly, what's that? What's the meme coin that him pushed on Believe? Remember the early, was it Startup?
Startup.
The product is the market cap.
Mm-hmm.
Look out. I'm noticing a trend with some of these things when these launch pads launch. Even if their ICM ownership utility focused, someone's going to come in with a meme coin somewhere. And so I'm seeing Unicorn, and we can get to that in a second, but I want to flag that. But yeah, they have their fair launch section, their gated section coming this week, apparently. But what I'll be doing on top of looking at this list on the left is looking at this list down here. These are all their bonded launches. And what I've done actually is go to the filter, go to AI. Instead of all, go to AI, infrastructure, RWA, DeFi, privacy. I'll even throw in robotics in there. You hit apply. And these are all kind of their more utility projects. There's a couple pages of these, but I'm going to just be looking into all of these just to see if there's anything, anything worth flagging, worth maybe, getting a little buy-in, because a lot of these, again, they're bonded launches. They're really low market cap. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Iona might have come from a similar lower level, if I'm not mistaken. Or was that also no, I think it came from pretty low, but I don't know if that was like a pre-sale or what have you. But I remember reading a post that basically said someone flagged a play on Surge at 16K market cap, and it reached 1.6 mil. I'm not sure if that was Iona, but I know it did it on over a few days. So what I want to do is, potentially the market is lagging and just not paying attention to any of these launches. If a launch goes crazy on here, like a gated launch, this could attract a lot of attention to a launch pad with a lot of low market cap plays. So just something to flag. I'll be looking into that later. And if I come up on anything, I'll let the homies know. I'm also getting back active in my TG, so I'll probably end up posting a little bit of something in there. I know we have our next segment coming up in about 2 minutes. I think that's the last thing that I'll cover. Real quick, before the next segment. This is basically that unicorn meme coin that we saw. Kind of looking really nice.
Looks similar
From
to
a
Yona,
chart.
honestly.
Yeah, from a chart perspective. I just wanted my thing is I'm trying to get ahead of attention. If it's an AI 2.0 meta, we have an AI launch pad with an unrivaled BD pipeline that could attract a lot of attention because it's gearing up for launches. I'm trying to get ahead of the attention to look at the launch pad and see, okay, are there any, fundamental plays? Are there any meme plays that I could potentially get into? And what do you know? This I'm looking at this, but I think there's something here tingling, if you will. But that's all I'll say on Surge. That's all I'll say.
Jaina, that's gonna be PM time. We are not gonna stream at 1:15 a.m. So, nonetheless, bro, we gotta talk about this. This is insane, guys. We are absolutely soaring on the silver chart. Absolutely soaring. We are up
Jesus.
13.3% today on the silver chart. 13.3% on the second largest asset in the world.
Do you
That is-
guys know why these metals are popping off? I have something on that. If you
Let's
guys
hear it.
don't know,
Let's hear it.
all right, I'm gonna share with you guys a very childish looking picture, but it's gonna make a lot of sense here in a second.
I mean, 13.5% on the
and
second
I'll share it
most
on my screen.
valuable commodity in the world, asset in the world based on market cap is just mind-boggling how much money has to flow into that. I don't think people understand. Like, that's unheard of.
Alt season, but for commodities, from not for our beloved altcoins. I think this is the reason why metals are popping off, in my opinion. And I'm sure Josh probably has a more educated opinion than my smooth brain take. But here I go. You have the Western part of the world. Donald Trump is basically each major power in the world is claiming what they see as being theirs from a strategic standpoint. They're kind of like laying the foundation of what they would need for the immediate future. We're talking about how the U.S. invading Venezuela was like illegal. It was breaking international law, but law is only binding as long as it's enforceable. So who's going to enforce law against the United States? Nobody. So essentially, in your own hemisphere, if you are the power, no one is going to enforce the law, then you are free to grab at whatever you feel like you need to grab at. So that's why Trump is securing the Western side of the world, making sure that the U.S. or any other potential enemies can't set up shop in places like Greenland, like Venezuela, and he even talked about Cuba as well. So that's why we see Donald Trump kind of locking down the Western side of the world. Putin is doing the same. That's why him and Ukraine have been duking it out, because otherwise Ukraine is a very strategic kind of land asset for Putin. And then you see China and Xi Jinping. Taiwan is probably what he's going to go after. So all these major players in the world are going after land assets that they feel like will kind of secure their future. And so from a financial standpoint, everyone is kind of like protecting themselves against this shift by going into hard assets like commodities, stuff like gold, silver.
I agree. And there's, I think, the geopolitical element there as well. And for a long time, silver's had an industrial use case, but this actually was something that popped on my radar, went viral back in April. And this actually happened at the very beginning of the silver bull run. Was this new Samsung battery that they had developed that consumed, that if in production, scaled production, would consume 70% of silver's yearly output, basically. And then I go over to Grok here, and Grok kind of breaks it down. They would require up to 1 kilogram roughly 32 troy ounces of silver per vehicle for 1,000 kilowatt hour battery packs. So I think what's happening here is twofold. One is the geopolitical overtones that you discussed, Chill, very eloquently. But the second is the batteries require these minerals in a very large amount. And I think this is a land grab. This is basically everyone going out and saying, okay, there's going to be an acute shortage. We got to get ahead of this thing. So yeah, I think both are at play, and I don't see necessarily an end to this, right? Like from a trader's perspective, I see a chart like that, and I think, man, that thing is overvalued. I wouldn't be buying here, wouldn't be bidding here, but I'm also not running a Samsung battery plant anywhere, so hard to say. But yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of goes into the question that we'll talk about more maybe after the CMEM segment here, but it also goes into the question about just like, where is money flowing? We see the consolidation of money in these third world countries, even Europe, to where we know that their currency is being devalued quickly and has no intrinsic value. So where is this money going? Well, they're already paying with QR codes. They're already using neobanks. It's almost like the extinction of any currency that isn't a leader, like the US dollar. I would even say like the euro, like the yen, like whatever you want to call it. Some of these the big three, the big four. Everything else is going to die. And since these people are already using QR codes and digital payments, why would they continue using their own worthless currency when they could be using the US dollar, or when they could be using something with intrinsic value like digital gold and silver? And that's like 100%. I'm confident that's the natural progression we're going to get. And then that's how that leads to a one world currency like a Bitcoin. And we can get into this conversation maybe after, but it's a really interesting thought. But insane to see silver and gold, the two most valuable assets in the world, candling 3% in a day for gold and nearly 14% in a day for silver. It's just unprecedented. Nonetheless, I digress. Do we want to rip over to the next segment, boys?
Let's do it. Pull up Claude Memory.
Let's do it.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
Doing well.
Welcome. Welcome to the show, man.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I knew the second I started talking, my cat was going to come over and start meowing. So
your cat's on MCG to streaming to 1,200 people. That's totally cool.
That's a cute cat.
That's a cute
see,
cat.
this already is like bullish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd say so.
What's your cat's name?
Her name is Zola.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You might get
Zola.
someone spinning up a Zola meme coin.
Yeah.
Man goes crazy.
There are my cats were the thing that I had viral success with before, but not like, actual whatever success. But I have a friend of mine who he became like a very famous like internet cat photographer, and his wife is this famous internet kitten lady, and they live this like famous internet cat life. So I guess one time I was browsing some website, and you know how sometimes you see banner ads with like your stuff in it, like something related to you. So I saw an ad with a picture of my cat in it, and I was like, wait a second. Like maybe was this like something from like Cash, or where's this coming from, right? Where's my cat? How did my cat get into this Google ad, right? Into this banner ad? And I clicked it, and it was an article on ABC News that featured my friend Andrew. And the main picture was a picture of my cat. So like I literally saw my cat in the news, and then he's been viral from that. I think also one time I had a business partner in Portland, Oregon, and she was on Reddit, and she just sent me a message. She's like, "Your cat's in the Photoshop battles," and like, yeah, that's a whole thing. There's like
your cat's got some notoriety.
Like Little John. No, these are two different cats. These are prior cats. What I'm saying now is that this is actually Zola's moment, and that the other cats already had their moment, and Zola needs her moment.
No, Zola, that's a viral looking cat if I've ever seen one. Look, I maybe don't have the best viral cat barometer on me, but that looks like a viral cat if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, I nobody wants to hear about my cats. Everybody wants to hear about the Claude mem. So let's talk about CMEM and all that.
Let's talk about it. You got thrust into this world. We've had a few of these Bags founders on, and it seems to be just like a pretty wild ride from the start. Let's take it from the top. So just give us the rundown. What happened? You have a token now. People love your work. I'm assuming it's like open source. Can you just start from the top with us here?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna even go like a little bit further back too. I would say about 2 years ago, like I kind of fizzled out with client work, and I was thinking like, what did I really want to do? So I knew that I wanted to build like a SaaS, right? I wanted to build some sort of like monthly subscription that I could live off of, right? You know, build a piece of software, do the thing. That was my dream. But I knew I needed to kind of niche into something, so I decided to start studying Solana and crypto, right? And I spent like a whole like year just on all the different discords, talking with all these different people, trying to learn learn in general how to do like bot trading on Solana, right? And then I ended up making open source bots and a couple of Solana products. When I did that, they were great products and they worked really well, but they didn't have the audience. And I think it was because, honestly, it was because I didn't make a token for them. And the reason I never even thought, like, I did think to make a token for my Solana projects, obviously, but I didn't think of it as like some sort of connected utility. I thought of it more as like just a way of getting the word out there. Because really, if people would have seen the things that I had made, then they would be successful. Like they worked really well, like while I was bug testing and fixing stuff, but then I had to pick up client work, blah, blah, blah. So I started working on client stuff, and somebody wanted me to build a very boring like drop shipping Shopify website, right? And they wanted me to manage it for them. They had money to pay me. But you know, to me, that just was like miserable. I don't want to do that. But what would be fun is maybe I could get AI agents like on Slack to do it for me, and they could be like my team, right? And they'll do it, and then I'll tell them to do that, and then they can just handle this, and then we could sell it to other people. So I started working on that, and very quickly I ran into a problem where it would remember anything. Like it was early days with Claude Code, and they had just released like the $99 a month, like pretty much unlimited token usage thing that got Claude Code really popular. And yeah, it's like 1/10, 1/20th the time, the price of actually paying for the tokens if you're using the API, right? So my thought was, if I could connect Slack to this, then if it's 20 times cheaper, I could have them talk longer. I could have multiple guys talk to each other, and maybe this would be affordable for like $300 a month. I could have all these employees, right? So that was my plan. I moved in Slack, and as soon as it hit like the end of one session, like it would not compact, it wouldn't save, and I couldn't continue. So I started looking at memory tools. Well, there were lots of AI memory tools. A few of them had just been like recently funded. So that means that they are, it's like kind of like a newfangled way, a new way of getting into the space was memory, because it's just starting out and nobody quite like had it down yet, right? I went to all the different alternatives and I started installing like every single one to see how it worked, right? And nothing would just work. Nothing saved the context. They had all these tools to save the stuff, but they didn't have it connected. It was like, you know, we're developers, we made this database, now you're gonna have to connect it to whatever you want in order to make it actually work as memory, right? So I was messing around with all of those, and I just iterated and iterated and iterated. And it was like August, September. I remember when I first got it working to a point where it was like magical. And the first experiences that I had were that it would just be able to continue going from one chat to the next, right? Like I didn't need to tell it anymore. Like that was my goal. I didn't want to have to tell it anymore. I wanted to be able to just
Previously, the agents would be in separate chats and you would have to tell them the context that they should know before they could do anything. And then
Yes.
what you built is an overarching, context database for all the agents in all chats. Do I have that
Exactly.
correctly?
Exactly. So basically what it is, it's like the website says, one AI taking notes of another AI's work, right? So as you're doing work in Claude Code live, like at the same time, it is making observations, and those observations are structured. It might be like a how it works observation, or a bug fix observation, or a gotcha, something that like it will need to remember in order to continue, right? And then it automatically injects just like a table of contents into the next chat. So that was the second thing that I noticed. Was my theory was, and I got this in like, it was like a shower thought. It was a legitimate like shower thought, right? Not a Reddit one, a real one.
That happens to all of us. That's good.
Right.
Shower thoughts are good.
Mhm. And I was in the shower and I was thinking, and it was, how do I remember stuff, right? I have, I have ADHD, whatever, and I have had to learn to work with that stuff, right? And I didn't have like medication when I was younger, right? Because I'm 43, so they didn't really prescribe it to people then, and so I really had to struggle to like learn how to learn, right? I had to learn how to take notes. I had to learn how to study. I had to learn those things because I kind of like skated through until I get to the college courses and things that you can't skate through. And then it's like, oh crap, what do I do next? So I learned how to take notes, and I learned what works for me in terms of memory, right? And I think it really is kind of universal across humans. Like we don't remember everything. We in fact remember very little. And I don't think we could remember everything. If we did, we would be very overloaded, right? Our context would be full, let's say. So we remember things that like surprise us or traumatize us, right? Something that like causes some sort of chemical reaction in our body that then like saves the memory in your head. That's like a background process, right? It's not a foreground. I'm not actively thinking, yes, I have to remember this particular thing right now, right?
I tell myself that all the time, but I forget anyways. So
right, exactly. But try this. If you get a little notepad, right? 2 words, not even a note, 2 words. And then look at it 2 days later, you have the sentence in your head that reminds you, that you remember that, right? You're doing it right now. I see you with your notebook. So it's like, that's what I think is going on with the AI, right? Like the second thing I discovered was that it didn't need to look up the details of the observation, right? The timeline list, just like the few token sentences, was enough to know pretty much everything that it did. And it took me a while to think about why it did that. And like I said, I'm comparing it to like writing a little note and then remembering the whole sentence, or going to an art museum, not having your phone, your camera with you. You want to remember something that you looked at, right? If you don't have a piece of paper and a pen and you walk around, then a month later, you probably won't remember anything you saw in that art museum. But if you wrote a little note about the name of the painting, or just the name of the painting, even a few weeks later, you would have a fuzzy vision in your head. It wouldn't be exactly that. And, you wouldn't be able to draw it from memory, but you'd have a fuzzy vision of it. You'd have an understanding. And then beyond that, all of the things that it says that it did, it knew how to do. So it's like it would know how to do it again. If I write down, I knit a sweater, I don't know every single knit that I did, but I do know that I made this sweater yesterday at this time. Before that time, I didn't have a sweater, and afterwards I did.
So I have a question, like, why is this big? Because I think everyone uses ChatGPT, and when they go back to ChatGPT, the context is all there. I don't have to retell ChatGPT about my business, how I like my posts done, etc. It just kind of remembers it. This is different because why? Because there's no memory database in Slack, and the agents have nothing to draw on. Like, explain what, like, obviously you've made a discovery here, which is fundamental, but why is this important?
Right. So that's a really good question. And the answer is that the way that ChatGPT now has like instant recall like that, it follows the pattern that I developed, and it happened after I developed it. The memory.
Whoa, okay. So wait. So you developed something that helped ChatGPT remember?
I think that I made this discovery in like October-ish, and it wasn't super popular, and I was still trying to do that client work and being like held back from whatever. But the feature was in Claude Code plugin, so anybody at Anthropic or whatever could see it and use it. I guess days after I made the thing, I was working on the memory tool. I was frustrated because I noticed that Claude had added like memory to Anthropic, had added like a new memory feature to their thing. ChatGPT memory last year, if you remember, wasn't that good. And if you remember, even probably halfway through this year, it would have to look things up and not have that instant recall, right? When did that instant recall happen is the question, because I started using my thing and I was using it, and then Anthropic had their memory, and I specifically I remember having their memory turned off in my Claude.ai, so I didn't have my desktop memory running, right? I had it off because it was not that good before. So now again, I'm in the dark for a while, and I finally I guess I set up a thing where I could connect Claude Mem to like Claude.ai through their new skills feature. And when I did that, I said, okay, I have to re-enable their memory to see kind of what it was doing. And I started talking with it, and then I said something, and it like instantly knew it had instant recall of something that was important, right? And
wow.
And I was like, whoa, what the fuck is this? Because I had never seen instant recall like that in anything other than my own. And I do know that, the timelines are they cross, right? So I was like, what could you tell me? Like, how did you know that? How did this work, right? And it said, okay, so in my startup context, I have this information, and it's able to share it with you. Like, you can ask it for this, and it'll tell you what your memories are from the injected context, right? And it's not a timeline, but it is like time-related buckets of information, like newest, like oldest, like later type of buckets of things to keep in mind, right? Not dates, not times. Now, my thing, that was another emergent pattern that I noticed, because I included dates and times. It started knowing exactly what day and time it was, right? Which is something that the AI didn't know before.
Yeah.
And so that was another emergent pattern that came out of my thing, that I was like, whoa, all you need to do is just give it the time, and then it knows the time.
So if I were to summarize what you had done is you put out, because you had tried to deliver this client project, you had all these agents in Slack. They had no context when you went to go talk to them. You're like, oh, I need to solve this problem. You then came up with this, I don't know, what would you call this? A computer science innovation, some sort of discovery.
I think it's a software like engineer. I think it's a software pattern actually, and that's what makes it really hard to like quantify. You know, it's like
right. So
and
it's a technique,
also one of
right?
it's
that
a technique, and it's
use.
also one of those things that's like obvious in hindsight too, right?
Yeah.
It's like so it's been a bit frustrating in that respect. So it showed me that, and then I was like, whoa, that's different, right? And I remember them releasing it after my thing, and so that was a coincidence, right?
And did you put this on GitHub? Like, how did it get discovered?
We all have coincidences, but there's a podcast with the product manager from Claude Code, Kat Wu and Boris Cherny are both on this podcast, every podcast, and it's from October. And it says that somebody asked about logging, if anybody uses agents for logging, and she said that there are people in Anthropic that swear by it, and they even have these agents that like write down notes and take these observations, right? And she goes like this with her fingers. Now, if you look at my UI, you'll see that I have rectangles of observations that pop in, right? My database uses the words observations. She used the word observations. Other memory tools are not using the word observations, right? And then she said that this is an emerging pattern that we are looking to productize. I've been working on this for 6 months. I've been slow on clients for 2 years. Then I hear a product manager on a $350 billion company that I'm contributing to their community with development saying that my pattern is something that they're looking to productize. It was legitimately actually kind of terrifying. Like from my perspective, you know, I'm working here and I'm like trying to do something for myself, and then they have all the resources in the world. So there are also like another like 15 or 20 coincidences I could talk about, but you want to talk more about the token.
Well, no, this is interesting, and I think it goes back
fascinating, by the way.
The question about
well, I don't, yeah, because that's the thing is I don't want to go negative, but it's almost like so hard to not talk about it at this point. You know, I'm grateful to the CMEM community that they gave me the support to be able to talk about this, because there's no way I would have ever said any of this. I would just be politely emailing them to try to hire me, if like, you know what I mean? Because that's not my thing. I'm not like I'm not here to make like drama or whatever, but I have been experiencing this, and what's funny about it is I made a memory tool that like makes these reports in 90 seconds with like dates, times, observation IDs, like references, right? So it's like I have everything logged, fully logged.
So is this why you kind of you launched this token for yourself? Am I correct?
No, I did not. I did not. Somebody launched a token on my behalf. I didn't even do it for myself. I was like, I'm like new OG Solana, just like 2 years, right? A year, 2 years, but Solana's not that old anyway. But I'm like new OG crypto, right? I'm new money, but with no money, right? Trying to like do this stuff. But I got I saw a comment on somebody else's thread for somebody else's app, and they were like, you should make a bags to tokenize it, right? And then I said this, they said fuck all the way off with your crypto bullshit. And so normally that's like a valid response because people are actually scammers on Twitter. But Bags app was legit. I remember looking into it, and it was going to be the one that I was going to use if I was going to use a token thing like to launch for my other stuff. I was going to use Bags app. So I commented that, and I woke up to $1,500 in fees. Then I went to the pharmacy and it was 2,000 more. And then I went home and it was another 2,000 more. And I was just like, what happened here? Like, how did this happen? And I knew that because of my, I guess, knowledge in Solana, that I could steward this and like do it the right way if I needed to. So that's why I have fully embraced it. I bought in, I locked it, and I'm going to lock it again as soon as I can, you know?
Okay, so this is what I'm curious about, and I want to give everyone that's listening that's not familiar with CMEM, because we got a lot of people on here.
Yeah,
You know,
sorry.
high level overview and just knock off a bunch of questions that people have.
Yes,
but first
please
and
do.
foremost, Bags is very unique in this sense, and I think you kind of brought up this issue that's been arising where people will build things open source, and you have these big corporations that can kind of basically just take them, and they have all the resourcing they need to build this out. Bags is really
Mhm.
unique in the sense, and I think Finn, the creator of Bags app, should make a very strong push, and even niche down to just focusing on open source projects, because I think it's very interesting now that open source projects can now get funding, whereas before this, they really couldn't. And as long as you have a good steward of the money who can maybe pay people for contributing and grow the open source, you can now have this sort of
Yeah.
flywheel effect where open sourcing accelerates its speed and it can become much more beneficial. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how Bags app and their funding model changes the ability to get funding for these open source projects and continue to build out things where most people might not be able to long term just due to funding and competition, et cetera.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, I think I think you're right. I don't know if I would say to just focus on open source projects, but what I would say would be to push away the memes, push away the jokes, make the joke not a thing, and make it a serious platform. But then you lose traffic and you lose momentum because that just happens to be what the industry and the people are interested in, right? You know, it's like what you say, what you do, a lot of times are two different things.
Mhm.
You know, the Bags like funding for me, I'm officially gonna hire this week our first developer, besides me, and it's like it's such a dream because they're so smart and they deserve like the work, you know, and we're all struggling. We all need work. The world is changing. AI is changing things. That's why I also dove real deep into AI, because I knew that it's like you either are going to get replaced by it or be the one who knows how to use it, right? So I wanted to be the one that knew how to use it.
Nice.
So I guess a question I had was just in terms of direction. So you had this breakthrough that you've made. Kind of, what's the plan? Like, well, what do you plan on doing with it now? You know, what is so important about its impact, and how are you trying to? Where are you trying to impact? Who are you trying to Who are you trying to market this to? Like, what's the plan for this?
Okay, so Claude Memory is actually Claude Mem is infrastructure. It's not it's not an app and it's not a plugin. It is like the memory. It's the long form like memory layer for agents, and it can be used for any kind of agent. It's like just real quick. The biggest problem with AI right now is power consumption. Everybody is very upset using water, building data centers, nuclear, all this stuff. Nobody wants it. It uses a lot of power because every single message, in order for it to stay on track, it has to use every message in full. So when you send a new message, it sends this and this and this. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger, the message, right? That's why your quality goes down, right? So if you're saving memories over here, right, and you read 15 pages of stuff, and you will get one sentence out of those 15 pages that you needed in your research, very common. AI has been reprocessing that 15 pages every single time you send a message. That can be replaced dynamically with just the single sentence that it needed, and you've just reduced power consumption by in some cases up to 90%. This is an exponential power problem that when you use memory and you use optimization techniques, you can actually truly like make it reasonable. You can make the cost reasonable to where somebody won't be upset that I sent them an AI generated image, right? Like I just ran. I met somebody. I sent them an AI generated like joke image, just some joke thing, and they were like, "You made this slop? You wasted slop to make a joke on me?" And I'm like,
So
I made Claude, ma'am. I don't know. That's optimizing. But optimization is the real key here, and that's the big money maker. That's where the bottom line is, right? You can
got it.
build until you're blue in the face, but there's always going to be overhead, and the only way to reduce that overhead eventually is optimization. So generally, this can apply to healthcare, medical records, customer service, anything that is like years of communication between tools or like just it's timeline data. That's the difference here. This is data on a timeline.
Got it. So you basically this kind of like this memory aspect of AI, it helps to reduce energy consumption. So huge breakthrough that can basically
Yeah.
reduce cost. And so you mentioned that as far as use case, it stretches across multiple sectors. You mentioned healthcare and a few others. I mean, who specifically can in the near term kind of use this? You mentioned kind of Claude already kind of came out with something similar. Who do you see kind of adopting this technology in the near term?
Okay, so right now I have I've been building because I was able to hire the new developer. I have been working on some fun stuff for everybody, kind of like in secret in the background. And so I bought cmem.ai and I started working on a consumer like chat site. Like it's like a chat GPT type of AI site where you can go in. It requires CMEM to log in, so it's token gated and it uses CMEM to purchase. It will use CMEM to purchase memory credits in the app, and the app will allow you to have this new like long form like memory type conversation with an agent that has access to office tools and different things. The first features are that you can select either personal assistant mode, office worker mode, or code mode. Code mode being the thing that is built into Claude Mem already, right? So I'm taking the engine and I'm putting it into a website, setting it up so that it has no code set up, and you could just buy CMEM, click the thing, and get access to it. And then you'll be able to actually export your Chat GPT like long form timeline history, right? So yes, it has memory, but what happens when like if OpenAI goes the way of Blockbuster, right? Or like music stores, right? Then what happens to your friend that you've been talking to for years, that you now like trust, that you've developed this relationship with, this personality? Like that was a problem from GPT-4 to 5. Everybody was freaking out. So this feature will allow you to create a timeline by just exporting your chats from ChatGPT, and then that timeline can then be imported into any AI, right? You want to put it in Claude, you want to use your own model, you want to use Claudebot on your own computer with a Mac Mini, you can. You know, all of that stuff. Another thing we're working on over the weekend is we started integrating Claude Mem with Claudebot, because everybody has been using Claudebot lately, and Claude Mem is very suited to be the memory layer for the Claudebot agent. So it's like, that's how we're infrastructure. We're the memory layer for these other agents that do all these cool things, but what happens a month and a half from now when you start talking to it, it's not going to remember what you did. This allows me to put 3 weeks of conversation information into sentences that, you know, are digestible by not just the AI, but even by you, by me and you. You could just read it and then you know what's going on. And that is something that people don't have. They have to log stuff themselves.
Okay, that's huge. That's huge. I know Dom. I think Dom had a thought.
Yeah. So a question about this too. We're seeing AI accelerate so quickly. You've just made your first hire. You know, something that used to take a lot of resources and a lot of time that maybe took a long time to build, you can now do with just a few people and do very quickly. How fast do you see AI accelerating, and what does this mean for single person businesses? And like, how do you keep a business now lean and also very productive? How's that helped you?
I would say that you know, all the things that I was saying before about like my fears and stuff are also, you could look at it from like a glass half full perspective. I am actually in the AI race because I have Claude on my side, right? I don't have hundreds of AI researchers, machine learning people, and all of that stuff at my disposal, but I do have Claude. And then as that improves, things are only going to get crazier for you guys. I mean, I got to say that like working directly with Claude Code, that's the thing that like everybody in developer land is feeling like, holy crap, we have agents now. But you know, the normal side of non-developer side doesn't have that holy crap, we have agents now feeling. They're starting to get it with Claude Bot, and then they're going to start to get that this year. And I think honestly, we will have like fully autonomous agents that remember things over years by the end of this year.
Wild.
It just, yeah, I mean, because it already exists. It's just, it's the developer to user problem, right? The programmer is always going to think in ones and zeros logic, and they can't get into it's hard for them to get into the like brand new user experience of the thing that they've been working on for years, right? Like their head is so deep in it that they know every intricacy, and you have to get out of that in order to build for actual like users and customers. That's why you have the dev people, that's why you have the UX people. I am fortunate enough to where I was able to do both. I'm better at design, UX, and like non-code, but it's just that AI has allowed me to code so hard. You know what I mean? And I have computer science like education from like college and stuff, but I wasn't ever like the best like deep coder. There's no way in hell I could have ever done this last year. I could not have programmed this myself last year or ever until Claude Code came out. It just would be 100% impossible for me to have done.
It's wild. Let's do some rapid fire. So first and foremost, we got this token now. How do you think of it moving forward? Is it going to be integrated into product? Just what are your general thoughts there?
Yes. So my thing is I want to figure out the best way to bring actual like money from the Claude Mem business into the token so that it benefits the community. Because I want it to be, you know, I want it to be like a stock, like shared ownership type of thing. But, you know, legally, you can't really, once you start messing with that stuff, you get into securities and then everybody gets scared, right? So what is the best way? Is it burning? Because people say, yeah, burning, sure. But then it doesn't seem like the best thing after like a long time, right? Like it doesn't feel that great because things just are going to go up and down in value anyway. It's like, why are you burning your money? So is it burning? Is it airdrops? Then you have engagement farmers, or then you're a security doing dividends, but in a different name, right? So there are like legal things that I'm thinking about. Everybody's been asking me like, how are you going to integrate? How are you going to integrate? I want to 100% connect the token and the business so that we all benefit from it, that you guys benefit from ClaudeMem Pro sales, and that money goes to something. Like, it's 100% at least going to go to like some staking thing. I know I could put it into a fund and then redistribute it for stakers at least. So that I'm going to be doing staking like very, very soon because I want to incentivize holders.
Yeah, well, and we can definitely discuss that in private too. There's some really cool models where they're like DAO approaches and treasuries, and people can vote on what some of the funds go towards. You know, maybe it's a new hire, maybe it's contributors to the source code, whatever it might be. But I would love to know, how's your growth been then? I see your GitHub has got a ton of stars. People are really interested in this. What's growth been looking like month over month for you?
Yeah, so this is what's wild. I started in like July, August, and then it got 500 stars on GitHub. So 0 to 500 stars. I was on Reddit. Reddit was where I got all of my initial like traffic, and it got ton. I became pretty popular in the Claude Code Reddit. I would post that my tool would fix like people's problems because everybody wants the context from one chat to the next. They weren't having that, right? So I would say like ClaudeMem does it, and then they're like, oh, you're self-promoting, but then immediately somebody would hop in and say, no, this guy's legit, right? So I thought that was really cool. Reddit 0 to 500. I finished the website. I put on Product Hunt. I woke up the next day. I was number 11 on Product Hunt. And then 3 days later, it hit Twitter. And then I got like 8,500 stars in a week.
Jeez.
And right. And so this was December 9th. But the token didn't start until 2 weeks ago. And it happened because of my viral growth that came naturally. So it's like you can look at these other tokens that their growth starts when the token starts, right? Or the app rather. My growth started because I'm building a real business, and I wasn't going to stop building my business just because I have a token, you know, like, so yeah, so 8,500, and then it just kept booming and booming and booming during thing. I have like a few different like high level investor people that even contacted me before the token, right? I had meetings with like seed round investor type people talking about things weeks before the token happened. And then the token happened, and it just like increased my value in terms of like eyes on me and just the possibilities. Furthermore, people are listening to my crazy ideas. Like I'm a talker here, and I can talk about like idea after idea, right?
Sure.
People are listening to them now. And that's powerful, dude. It's so powerful. Right? It's like I need to make sure I say the right idea now, because before I could just like blab out anything, you know?
On the right idea discussion, what does that mean for roadmap, future plans? Like, what do you have planned, I guess, in store for the immediate future?
Right. Immediate future, all hands on deck are for ClaudeMem Pro. That I believe we'll be able to have running this week. We will take a portion of that, and I'm going to put it to like buying an amount and like locking it or doing something like immediate. So as soon as we have, like the second I have like real fiat Stripe money coming into the business, there will be real fiat from the business going out into the token. I don't know exactly, like I said, legally, whatever. I have my lawyer. I'm going to make sure everybody's safe. I'm safe because again, I'm not here to steal. I'm here to build a business. So, so that's number one, ClaudeMem Pro. Number two is, getting an integration, I think, with ClaudeBot, because it actually is like a really powerful, awesome thing that people are feeling. But again, they're feeling what developers have felt with Claude Code already for 6 months. So that's how I know that agents are where it's at, because they're struggling to install developer tools to feel this thing. And I'm going to make that user experience layer that brings everybody on board into the agents so that they don't have like that blind spot anymore. It's all about like breaking down the barrier, so that we can funnel in for conversions and get people, excited and using these new AI tools that are not ChatGPT, that are not directly involved with that. And thirdly, infrastructure, building the system so that it, continuing to build the system so that it works with like every IDE, any agent thing. We've already refactored it a bunch, and I'm refactoring it again to make it even cleaner to connect to everything, right? That's the goal, is extensibility. And then finally, in terms of business, I am looking for a seed round. I'm looking for an investment. And I think that, a major player doing a seed round into a memory play that has 15,000 stars on GitHub, even without the token income giving it like proof of financial ability, it still is a very compelling investment. And I have, like I said, I have investment interest, right? So I know that, if I nurture the holders and give them rewards and build staking, that they will then be rewarded when the growth of my regular business starts to do its regular business thing beyond what the token can give it.
Got it.
I'm thinking big. I'm thinking big picture,
That's awesome. No, there's a huge conversation, around exactly what you're thinking about, just how, founders can deliver real value to holders that come from the business, the actual business that they're building. So, I think this has been a pretty awesome conversation so far. I think I had all the questions answered that I wanted. I wasn't sure, Dom, if you had anything else that you had. Good, awesome. But look, I really enjoyed this conversation. I think you have something here. You have a massive breakthrough in Claude Memory. I think that, like we talked about, opens up for a lot of interesting things that companies can use as far as lowering costs and things of that nature. You mentioned that you mentioned that you're also hiring your first dev. So excited to see what you guys build out as you move forward in these coming weeks and months, and excited to see how you attack this roadmap moving forward. We really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and like also you guys are great interviewers. This was great, and I appreciate I just appreciate you and the community. Like the CMEM community has just been just amazing, and like I can build my business now. I can build my business without having to like it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing, right?
Shout out Bags that made this possible.
Shout out Bags. And then can I just leave everybody with this? If you do it right, and you just do it right, make like earn the fees, right? Earn the fees. You're allowed to earn the fees. It's legal income. Nobody's gonna send you to jail for fees, right? Earn the fees. Be a steward for the community, work for the community, and they will reward you. They're like dying for it, right? Because everybody's stealing from them. They're like begging for it, but at the same time, they're just also so traumatized that I get these messages where they're like, yo, when are you gonna rug me, bro? When are you gonna? I was like, if I rug you, I rug myself. Like, it's not gonna happen. So that's what I'm saying. It's like you get more, I guess you get more flies with honey or whatever. I don't know what I'm really bad at idioms.
Something along those lines.
That works for us. Well, it was great to chat with you. And what's your name? What's your
Alex? Okay, yeah, my name is Alex Newman. And yes, again, that's another thing with the Bags is like everybody in crypto makes a token and they hide their name because for safety reasons, right? If you make a lot of money, social media, they can track you. But every single one of these devs who got bagged has been using their real name the entire time.
Yeah.
And then, so that's why Bags is now focused on education for the developer. I spoke to them about this. It was something that, like, it's important because I live in the middle of I live in the middle of a major city. You know what I mean? It's no, I live in Philadelphia. It's obvious. I've said it. Yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Got you.
Sure.
All right, man. Well, you have a great day, and we'll check in a few months and see
Thanks,
how
Alex.
it's all going.
Right,
Thanks,
thank you
Alex.
so
Appreciate
much,
you,
guys.
Alex. All the
brother, have a good
best.
See ya.
High level. Let's hear it, Josh. What are you thinking? I think you might have one of the better takes on this, and Chill too. Let's hear from both of you guys.
Chill. What do you think?
I think from a technological standpoint, I think he's onto something, right? He kind of alluded to, potentially he was a community, he was a community contributor to Anthropic, and potentially he kind of alluded to Anthropic kind of like getting inspired, if you will, from his creation and from his contribution. So, but either way, as far as just around memory and the technological side of things, he has something there. I think the questions that he needs to answer, though, is how is he going to deliver that value to the community? I think that's something that he was kind of alluding to in the conversation. He's like, well, I want to do that, but I'm kind of barred from doing that because of the restraints of the current regulatory setup with securities.
Yeah.
And
I would
and things
also
of that
add.
nature.
I'd also add the due diligence was done pre the token in terms of smart people who know what they're talking about on Reddit or on GitHub, etc., going through and like saying, no, this guy's legit. And the token only came after the fact. It's a good story. I think this is exactly why Bags app should exist. And look, if he goes on and becomes successful, hopefully his token performs well. So
I will say this his story definitely is a proof of concept for Bags. Like,
totally.
The fact that he can go from, kind of struggling to build his business to now being able to, make his first hire, actually pursue his roadmap and build out what he wants. I think that's a very powerful
Yeah, like
story.
imagine you backed like Edison or like, one of these inventors back in the day, and then they became, huge people. So yeah.
We're going to see it happen eventually, hopefully.
Totally. Our next segment is one that's been on MetaDAO for the longest of times, has gone through, I believe, some pivoting, which is Turbo Cash. So great looking product. And I don't know if we can pull up a quick chart on maybe quickly CMEM too, and then this, just to give people context.
I'll let you guys run through that. I'll be right back.
Yeah, let me go ahead and run through the CMEM chart here real quick, and I will share my screen. And here we go.
And we're 5 minutes from Turbo Cash, so very, very soon. Very soon.
Cool. So we'll run through some things before we get to Turbo Cash as well. So here we see the chart, the CMEM chart. We had like what I like to call its discovery candle, right? Like this was a fat discovery candle on CMEM. I mean, it's basically it's right where it started. It's literally back where it started. I think the dev definitely has good intentions. I think the recipe for success in crypto kind of goes beyond just intentions and intentions alone. You got to be able to execute. You got to be able to hold attention and build something valuable. It's an interesting setup. I think it's definitely one for the watch list. It's one to keep watching. But he just made his first hire. I think there's some things that he mentioned he's working on that he wants to come out with the community. So from a buy standpoint, I'm more of just kind of looking at the chart, looking at the profile of the fundamentals. I think I'm more in a let's watch and see how this goes kind of standpoint on CMEM.
I'd agree. And if I were to like point out, so go to the show notes and the replies, you'll see kind of all the key parts. The power consumption, I mean, as someone who's heavily invested in the data center business through Galaxy, I kind of hope power consumption stays high because that's good for my investment there. But one of the things was bought CMEM.ai, working on a consumer ChatGPT style site using CMEM to purchase credits in the app with an agent who has access to office tools. So maybe early Grafane vibes if that ever takes off. But yeah, that was kind of like, if this is good, this is a good product and he's able to do that well, I think this could reprice. But I agree with you, largely chill on the fundamentals. And also Crypto
I like
Jones.
this. Yeah, I like that. I like that comment from Crypto Jones. My fear for CMEM is his tech gets adopted, but is essentially stolen. I mean, he kind of, that's what he alluded to. He alluded to the fact that Anthropic kind of, you know, took it from him in some way, shape, or form, or was inspired from his work. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with CMEM. Interesting play. It could be a blockbuster story if things play out for Bags, but rooting for him. But
Yeah.
I'll be watching.
ZKSL here, really quick. If we can throw the chart open, we got a couple minutes, and then we'll bring Turbo Cash on. I like the graphic.
Oh,
here.
ZKFG.
Sorry, ZKFG. Yeah, my bad.
I was like, wait, SL.
You know, my
Whoa.
my bad.
No, you're good. Yeah, so ZKFG.
I want to hear the early MetaDAO story here too, right? Because this was one that I believe launched pre-Umbra and Avicii and whatnot. So that'll,
and I think that's kind of what I want to hear. I want to hear the whole story here. Their initial launch, you know, what were you after initially? There was some pivot of some sort that was announced. Okay, what's the current direction? And kind of seeing what traction they've built up and what they have going for themselves now with this kind of renewed vision for 2026 and beyond. So yeah, definitely interested to see what the story is here for ZKFG. But I believe overall this is just, you know, broad strokes, this is just privacy.
Yeah.
So definitely a big competitive landscape. Earlier, you guys you guys mentioned, you guys heard us mention Yona, that privacy project on Surge, and you heard my hesitancy towards it because it is privacy, it's on Solana, and I feel like it is a somewhat saturated space, or I should say at the very least competitive. It is competitive. So, you know, it's something that you're.
Yeah, like, I mean, let's find out. Actually, we have Turbo Cash up here. That's maybe a great place to start, is just kind of what your role in the ecosystem and privacy is. Are you with us there?
Yeah. Hi guys. So first, it's not Turbo, it's Turbine.
Turbine.
It's a
I'm so
homage
sorry.
to Tornado. All good. So you want me to give you kind of like where do we see ourselves in like the privacy ecosystem?
Well, I guess before we start, before we go
Sure.
there, maybe let's kind of structure it this way. We start with background, who you are, what you've built, your story coming onto MetaDAO launching, and then kind of bridging that into, you know, where you see yourself within the privacy ecosystem today.
Sure. So we're actually a team that's been working on Solana since 2021. Personally, we have like a lot of like 15 plus years in the high tech industry, like working in big enterprise, bootstrapping companies and so on. And we kind of got into the crypto bug like really just when Solana came in, because prior to that, like realistically, like, you know, ETH was not like I mean, you can't really compare ETH to Solana from our perspective in terms of like performance and real engineering wise. So it's like when Solana came in, it was like, okay, so crypto is finally becoming something that can actually be used. And that's where we kind of like dive into it. And the story behind Turbine is basically a couple of years ago, it was like around 2021, 2022, there were actually two main privacy protocols on Solana. One was Light Protocol, and the other is Elusive. Elusive is now Arcium. Light Protocol still exists under the same name, but now they do like ZK compression and stuff like that. and we were actually used to be users of Light Protocol, and they shut down their privacy protocol once Tornado Cash had like the whole legal issues. Basically, then like a lot of privacy protocols folded because they were afraid that they'll be under the same scrutiny and so on. And we felt there's a hole, right? Like we were using it, others were using it, so there's a gap to be filled. So it was kind of like in the back of our mind that we need to fill that gap. And like a lot of not more than a few months back, probably like a year ago, we actually started kind of dabbling with it. And actually MetaDAO found us because we were competing in some, I think it was a hackathon or something, and we actually had like the original version of Turbine there. And then we talked and we discussed, about coming into MetaDAO and raising through them. And that's how we got into MetaDAO. We obviously knew about MetaDAO prior to that, but that's like where it actually got serious. And during like that process, when we were thinking of that gap in the product, is where we started thinking, so there are some gaps in the privacy space that people seem to miss. And the first one that we noticed was that, so the way that privacy protocols work on public blockchains like Solana is that you basically, everybody deposits into the same program, smart contract, whatever you want to call it. And then they're able to withdraw with a ZK proof and not sign. And the privacy comes from basically activity from you and other users that an external viewer has a hard time basically distinguishing which one is you. And if you look at the docs of every privacy protocol out there, they will tell you don't deposit and withdraw right away the same amount and so on, because then it's kind of obvious that that's you, right? And then you have this kind of paradox where on one hand, you want obviously to be private. So you want to put your funds there as long as possible and have the most activity to mask you. But on the other hand, your funds are idle, right? And you're losing potential yield, you're losing potential opportunities and so on. And obviously in crypto, nobody likes their funds being idle. Everybody likes to have them generate yield 24/7. And this was the first thing that we kind of connected that I don't think anyone has done that prior, which is basically enabling to deposit not only Solana, but also depositing, for example, an LST, right? That way, when you deposit the LST, so you deposit one LST token, you withdraw one LST token, but that token is worth more when you withdraw it, right? So you kept earning while you were getting your privacy improved the longer you wait. And when you were asking like how do we see ourselves basically in this ecosystem, is basically doing these sort of improvements to the privacy space and making it better in terms of not only UX but also like just making it more efficient. And the latest product that we just released, it's now in private beta, is the private DCA. And the thinking behind that is that if you guys are familiar with the Telegram bot, the DCA tracker, so you basically can just today subscribe to a simple free Telegram bot that has 12,000 people, and you will see big trades going through. It's currently tracking Jupiter DCA, and you will literally see people about to do 100K, 500K, and so on trades. And obviously, they can't do these trades in one shot. Too much slippage. They're afraid of MEV and so on. But they expose their entire strategy, and you don't even need to be some fancy MEV developer to extract that. You just need to track something that's completely public. And by definition, a DCA is relatively slow. You probably have like an order 1 per minute or so on. So they just need to see, okay, you're about to drop 100K on this token. So I'm going to exit now, let you unload, and go back lower, for example. And our private DCA doesn't expose almost nothing of that. So you no longer need to basically have your entire trade be susceptible to this super easy front trading, and especially your biggest trade. Because if you do a small one, if you do like a 1K, $100, you'll just do a single swap, right? But if you want to unload 100K, you got to DCA it. You can't just swap it unless it's some extremely liquid token.
Unless you're the Ralph guy who clipped it out. But also, Turbine Cash, the irony here is I think the global DCA tracker bot is made by Moby, who also sponsors our show. Just as a funny irony. But yeah. I see what you're doing. That's very good. Very cool.
I didn't know that, but it's not. By the way, it's not against him by any chance.
No, of course, I know. I just thought it was funny.
I mean, the data is there publicly, right? They're just making it even more accessible. And realistically, anyone that's even slightly technical can just look at, for example, a Jupiter, program online. They have like the IDL. You can see everything out there. It's all public,
and traders
right?
use this. We cover it on our show all the time too, as how traders use these tools.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, why not? I mean, it's the biggest trades, right? By definition, a DCA is bigger than a swap, right? Because you'll never use a DCA for $50, right? Like it's useless. But you'll use it for 50K. So you're exposing yourself, and this is something that we just like. I mean, we're now in like advanced beta stages, and again, like to your question, where do we see ourselves? We see ourselves as not really just like a direct competitor. For example, you mentioned Umbra. It's more like we are actually, from our perspective, we're advancing the let's call it privacy fi, right? So the private DCA is, as far as I know, nobody built it. There's nothing like that on any chain. I mean, the only thing comparable to it is probably doing a DCA through a SEX, right? But I think, I mean, relying on on someone running on running their server, and you need to control them. It's kind of like it's a completely different experience, right? Yeah, I think that's like for your questions on.
No, well, thanks for that background. Like that really kind of helps us see kind of where you guys started, from 2021, building on Solana to where you guys are now. You're going into deep beta stage with your private DCA product. Just to kind of give us an idea of what the demand is looking like. You already have a batch of testers. What's the demand looking like for this product? How many people do you have testing this out? And is that kind of just folks from the community, or how is that?
So currently for the DCA, we have a few dozen people that we contacted. Some contacted us. We're not trying to to push it too quickly. Obviously, we want to make sure that we polish it and it's high quality before we fully release it to everyone. But we did receive a lot of good feedback from just about anyone that just hears about it. They kind of like the ID dropped and like, oh shit, like you're totally correct. Why am I exposing my trades like that, especially my biggest ones? So we think this will have like a good pretty good traction. Also, like if you look at it again, like if you comparing, for example, for the Jupiter DCA, it's also not only that it's public and exposes you. Also, don't get me wrong, this is not like a FUD on Jupiter or anything. It's just any Solana program is public, right? But for example, we also don't impose limitations like minimal amount per order, right? If you want to DCA like at $5 per order, that's fine. The other ones that exist that are bigger than that and so on. So we were really trying to make it better, and at least from what we're getting out from people, they like it. They like the ID. They see the value prop, and we're just kind of rolling it out step by step, and hopefully soon it'll be like the go-to tool for that activity.
So I have
Got
two
it. Got-
questions that stem from that. Chill, and if you had a thought, you can finish it. Feel free. I don't want to interrupt.
I just have one last question before you get to yours. Just you mentioned that your products will be kind of more centered or more focused on private fi or privacy fi. So kind of this kind of private financial kind of private privacy DeFi, if you will. What kind of products are you working on outside of like your just the private DCA? Just trying to get an idea of the suite of products that you provide and the type of users you're going after.
Sure. So we started with private transfers. So we supported like from day one, any token. So like we can support, native Sol, whatever SPL and so on. We provide also like private swaps. We have our LST, which is basically like a private gated LST. It's basically the only gated LST out there. It has a feedback loop, basically. Like the way that it works, we push some fees into the LST yield, and you can only get that LST and hold it by actually depositing into the protocol. Which then, when you withdraw, you also generate fees, which is basically a flywheel effect. And then we have the DCA that now this is like the product that we're pushing the most. And we have a few things that we're planning, which, we can't expose yet.
And last question. So you have like, you have the swaps, the transfer. What kind of volume are you guys seeing come through your platform?
I think you may be muted. Can you guys?
Turbine? Yeah, you're muted. Let me. I actually can only. They have to. Yeah.
Sorry,
Here we
can you
go.
repeat? I mean, it was breaking up.
Oh yeah, sure. I was just asking, you have the swaps, the transfers. What kind of volume have you guys seen come through your platform?
Hey, Turbine, can you hear from me? Maybe mine's fine. I'm not sure if it's on your end or our end here.
Sorry,
can you hear me?
do you hear me well?
We can hear you. You're having trouble hearing Chill, maybe?
Yeah, it was choppy. Like for the last minute or so, I was hearing nothing. Sorry.
Okay, I think there must be some sort of connection issue, but if you're good now, I think we can Chill can shoot one more time, and if that doesn't work, maybe
Maybe
we'll try.
you ask the question, Dom, and you can take it from there.
Okay. I actually don't remember your question, but I'll just go with mine.
Volumes. How many volumes or what's your volume using the product? Traction, basically, to date.
Yeah, from swaps and transfers.
Yeah. So I don't remember the exact number. It's somewhere like around close to $1 million in terms of volume. We haven't really gone too deep into the market. It is something that we're really pushing in now. We got like a few more team members onboarded to improve the marketing. You maybe you noticed or not in our timeline, but like in the last few days, things have been picked up. So we are really trying to push that now. So we're hoping to see obviously the volume increasing substantially.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I think of with a lot of these privacy platforms is integrations. How can you get your privacy technology to sit on top of a Jupyter or Meteor or Axiom or some of these big platforms that have a ton of volume going through it? What are those conversations looking like? Are you having conversations with these companies that have a ton of users and would maybe just install yours on top of their tech stack?
Yeah. So I can't name names because nothing is final yet. But we are talking to one of the big players to basically integrate the private DCA. But it's not over till it's over. So we wait for that to happen so we can officially make it public. But as you can imagine, like we mentioned, like people see the value. right? They understand that this is a bit like this is DCA 2.0, right? And once this starts to kind of gain traction, basically nobody would want to use the other version, because why? Like it's inferior in every way. So then it's the integration and people wanting to get it as part of the platform would be even easier to to get them on board.
So when you think of user acquisition, what's your kind of go-to-market strategy there? Is it lots of integrations? Is there a big marketing push you guys have planned? Curious what your thoughts are.
So we're kind of working in parallel, because on the integration part, I mean, obviously that's a huge win, but these things sometimes they don't work out, right? So you can't put all your all your eggs in one basket that doesn't fully rely on yourself. So we have like a big marketing push that we're working on, and but on the other hand, we're still like working in back channels and talking to other teams and trying to push that.
You mentioned that this DCA will be superior in every way. Obviously, why go the old route if I can DCA privately and it has all the features? On that note, Crypto Jones makes a point. He said, I'd love to see a smart DCA that uses percentage drops as the triggers. Are you working with like a Meteora to push out this DCA feature that'll have everything that all these other DCAs have? Are you guys working on a smart DCA, as Crypto Jones labels it here? Are there any special features you guys are going to have outside of just the privacy?
Yeah, so we definitely was thinking of implementing some of these features and already like having on the plan. But first we want to get the basics fully ironed out, working, because the privacy aspect of it adds a non-trivial complexity to it. So once that is actually done and working as expected and really polished, then we can definitely add fancier feature. But you gotta start with the basics.
Sure. This is a MetaDAO token. Obviously, the holders of the token have ownership over the company, in a sense, ownership of IP and control over the treasury. How does your runway look? Are you guys stewarding the money well so far? Do you guys have ample runway? Curious about how that's looking internally for the business.
Can you repeat, please, or even write it in the chat because you were breaking up again? Sorry.
Sure, I'll repeat it, and if not, we can write in the chat. I think Josh might even be able to do that right now. But nonetheless, so you guys have a token, obviously, on MetaDAO, which gives the holders ownership over the treasury, ownership over the IP. Can you tell me a little bit about what your runway looks like, or how capital is internally? Do you guys have enough runway? Yeah.
Yeah. So runway in MetaDAO is kind of like a in theory, right? Like if we stick to the plan and there's no refund proposal or something that passes, then it's fine. We have probably like around a year or so of runway on the original funds raised, assuming zero revenue, whatever, right? But the way that MetaDAO works theoretically, if people are unhappy, they can trade against it and pass a partial or full liquidation. That's part of the MetaDAO protocol. So
you're good on runway is pretty much the answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much did you raise?
So we raised 969.
Okay, right?
Nearly $1 million.
Yeah.
You had a 200K buyback that was raised here on the platform, which actually failed. The people voted against using that money for buybacks. Can you walk us through a little bit about the thought process there, you think maybe that the community had, and why this played out the way it did?
Yeah, I mean, so the token now is trading at lower than ICO. So obviously some people that invested are at least in theory, at a loss. So some of them wanted to basically get part of the money back through a refund proposal. But most of the people that invested are actually aligned and want to see this through. They don't want to have actually, like some of the big investors I got to talk to and so on, and they told me like, we're not like, we don't care about getting our money back, or even partly after a couple of months. That's why you invest in something. You want to see it through, right? You invest in a startup, in a company, not just to to see it all fold after 2 months or so because it didn't moon, right? So, but obviously some of the participants in the ICO are flippers. I mean, we know it. We've seen it in many of these ICOs. So one of the bigger ones decided that they want to raise a proposal, and that's perfectly fine. That's part of the MetaDAO whole protocol. But they failed. But basically, what happened was effectively they got bought out by the people that were pushing the fail, and they basically sold fail, which means that they basically sold the token to anyone that bought the fail, and basically bought them out through that.
Wow. So wait.
That's
So
actually
this is
huge.
something that I actually didn't know about MetaDAO. So if you if you fail, like if you want out through the
Proposal
voting
vote.
process, the proposal vote, when you go to click, like fail, you're selling your tokens, or you're, in this case, you want it to succeed. I don't know. Can you just explain that one more time? Because we haven't seen one of these before.
Yeah, so the way that a proposal works, it's super confusing. So you have two markets. One is pass and one is fail, right? Now, first you need to understand that whatever the final verdict means, that means that only one market actually get executed, and the other one gets completely reverted. So, for example, we failed the proposal, right? So anyone that traded the pass just got an undo, basically. They put in a token, they put in USDC, whatever they put in, they just got it back. Now, the fail market has two options. You can either buy, put in like a USDC, or you either can sell and pull and sell your existing token. Or is it the other way? I forgot. Like, I mean, because it's confusing, the buy and the sell and the fail and the it's all like a lot of small. And basically, again, so if you basically sell your tokens, right, in the fail market, and the fail market succeed, somebody bought that fail market, and they bought it off you, and the fail market gets executed at the end, so you were basically bought out.
The idea is you're putting your money where your mouth is and putting your money on the outcome that you think would be favorable. And you're willing to actually, rather than just having a vote based on how many tokens you hold, but no actual intrinsic, skin in the game, you actually have money in the game and you get bought out based on
Amazing mechanism.
Yeah. It's a little confusing, but it is an amazing mechanism. There's no one's voting unless they actually feel that they want a specific outcome, because you do have money attached to it, and the outcome that is voted upon will play out, and you can either get your position bought out or bought in, I guess, is how I'm understanding it.
I didn't know that that's how that worked, but that's absolutely amazing.
Great clip. We're gonna send that to Ashesh, and we're gonna get MetaDAO to retweet that, because that's gold.
The concept of futarchy is a little confusing, but it is really genius when you break it down.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes left. Let's try and get through some forward-looking questions and some of the other items here, Dom.
Sure. Yeah. Question on roadmap and future vision. We talked a bit about the history. We talked a bit about what you guys are currently working on with the DCA. What does the future look like? What do you guys have in store that people should be looking forward to?
Yeah, so like we mentioned, currently, like the near future is the private DCA. We're looking into a few more products. We don't want to, blabber about them yet, because we don't want to give away IDs to competitors. But there's like a lot of interest. I can tell you that, like, not only like on Solana, we got approached by also other blockchains, that like the product and haven't seen them anywhere else, and wanting them on their chains too. So that is something that we're considering potentially to do, given if we'll have like enough bandwidth and enough support from those ecosystem and so on. Yeah, and a few more things that we can't just give out all the secrets.
Got you. I think questions in the chat, guys, if you have anything left. But I think we pretty much covered everything that we wanted to or had on our minds. Is there anything you want to close out with, Turbine? And we didn't catch your name here. I'm not sure if you're trying to play the anonymity side because you're doing the whole, ZK proofs and security side of the fence here. But any closing thoughts you have for the people listening?
So, I mean, we thank everybody that participated. I want you people to know that we are truly invested, and we put in our own money also, like on the proposal, in the ICO, and so on. We're working on this day in, day out. I mean, you can see that we are pushing and shipping probably faster than anyone else in the field. And you will also see that we'll have significant exposure during like the privacy hackathon that now Solana runs. And we'll make sure that anyone that believes in us will not will not be disappointed.
You mentioned you're shipping fast. You got $1 million from the MetaDAO raise. What does this operation look like internally? How many people do you have on the team working on this?
So we're 5 people working on marketing, on development, obviously. We have like a few freelancers that come in and out as we need. Yeah, I mean, we can't grow too big, right? I mean, I don't think it's healthy. Also, like it's not that much fun to go there crazy. We actually also, in general, we believe in like a small commando team is better than a group of very, very like low level people. It just doesn't really work out.
Yeah, no, we completely agree.
Good question here. How does your product feed the growth of the token? Is there any sort of interesting tokenomics?
So every MetaDAO token basically holds the rights to all the IP and all the fees, right? So given that once the fees are big enough to make it interesting, right? You can start doing, for example, buybacks or whatever basically a proposal will decide. This is something that that's exactly why MetaDAO exists, right? Like if the holders think that something should be done, like with with the fees or with the IP or anything like that, they can raise a proposal, and we are there to listen and to obey, basically, right?
Yeah, valid. Sweet, guys. That does it for me. It was an interesting conversation. Privacy is a big narrative right now. Very clearly, everyone's kind of making a push towards it. And we know ultimately when you think about the future, if you think crypto is going to be where we see it going and everyone's using crypto to transact daily, you're going to need privacy, right? Simply put. So it's a big narrative and you're trying to tackle it. So we can appreciate that. So we appreciate you coming on today, and we'll stay in contact.
Yeah. Glad we could check off the last MetaDAO project that we haven't had on yet off our list.
No,
and we
Josh,
appreciate it. So
OMFG, dude. OMFG will not.
OMFG, and we try and schedule with them. That's right. Yeah. My bad. But yeah. Turbine Cashless is great. Good luck to you, and we'll keep in contact.
And he probably didn't hear any of that because he's lagging right now.
No, I heard. Sorry. So thank you guys for having us. And again, it was our pleasure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks. Appreciate you coming on. Have a good one.
Bye.
Talk soon.
Good.
Boom.
Good. I mean, under 800K market cap. So that's a low cap MetaDAO for you guys there. So
under 800K, raise $1 million. You'd have to calculate the burn rate there. Obviously that's all findable on the MetaDAO website. So, there's probably not much of a gap between current treasury and actual market cap of the token. And again, we know MetaDAO, like he mentioned here, you can always propose a vote to redistribute the funds back to the people. So like the downside, of course, there's always risk involved. I'm not saying there's no risk here, but you guys can go and calculate the perceived risk if you go and look at their treasury compared to the market cap, I think, pretty easily. So
Yeah, I'm bullish that that whale who wanted out was able to get out through that voting mechanism. Dude, that is one of the coolest things I've ever heard in crypto, period. So big ups to Futarki. We're going to clip that segment. That's powerful.
right, it's levels above normal governance where you just vote because you have a bunch of tokens. No, like you actually have to put your money where your mouth is, and I think that is a much higher signal.
Plus, you don't have to you don't full clip out, right? Like there's also like a responsible quote unquote selling mechanism there too. So blown away by that. That was wild.
Hey, Josh, something we talked about last stream before Chill came back was our 2026 narrative theses. We talked about how I think we pretty much agreed stablecoins and neobanks and then AI for 2026. Chill, if you had to give us your top narratives going into 2026, the people want to know, what are they and why?
Top narratives going into 2026 and why. All right. Thinking.
And if you want to take a moment to think, feel free. We can try and, if you want to take a few minutes.
I would love to yap, Josh, about our conversation the other day too. If Chill, you want?
Yeah. Do you want to maybe recap that one first and then give Chill a moment?
Yeah, and I talked to this over the weekend with some friends too, and it's just like it's fully resonated with me now, like the direction we're headed in. And I think if you haven't been a crypto or Bitcoin maxi before this, like I think after listening to this thesis, you would maybe be on board with us here. Recently, in recent times, we've seen the massive emergence with QR codes. The friends I was talking with were both Colombian. They're from Colombia, and my buddy was just coming home from Colombia. And so I asked him, I was like, are people paying with QR codes in Colombia? Because we're having projects on that are going and doing neobanking and specifically focusing on Brazil, focusing on third world countries. And I'm hearing all these reports. Well, everyone's using QR codes to pay in Africa. Everyone's using QR codes to pay in Europe. Everyone's using QR codes to pay in Brazil. So I asked my friend, you were just in Colombia. Is that how people are paying? And he's like, yeah, pretty much everyone is paying with QR codes. And so this is fascinating me because now we're in an era where you have these third world countries who are no longer carrying around fiat dollars. They're just all using QR codes to pay. And so if we're already doing things mobilely and digitally, the question becomes, why are we still using these currencies that have very little value when there's currencies like the US dollar, when there's gold and silver, right? We know the US dollar is the world reserve currency. We know, gold and silver have the intrinsic value because of course they're finite and they're resources. And so the question goes from, wait a minute, we're already paying virtually. Why not switch to a currency that has value, that we're not going to lose 50% to inflation over the year? We're not going to lose, money in black markets and whatnot. And so my thesis kind of goes from, well, we're digital, we're using QR payments. Eventually, we're going to completely shift over to, hey, I'm just going to pay with US dollars. Like it seems so natural. It's the world reserve currency. And so you get these countries with bad economies, volatile currencies, completely switch over. I think it's only a matter of time. And then what you're left with is the big, like I mentioned earlier, the big countries, your China, your Russia, the United States, maybe even Europe. But again, we see Revolut's emergence in Europe and everyone's using neobanks now, or a lot of people, and already using QR codes. And so it's happening quickly. So now you have people online using digital economies to pay with QR codes. Natural progression is, okay, we're just going to go to the best currency, which starts as the US dollar. But again, once that happens, we get to the US dollar and these people realize, well, we still have the same issue. You can print the US dollar. You can print as much as you want in a year. And then inflation is also getting bad in the United States. And by the way, we're kind of in this big bubble. And by the way, there's a ton of debt in the United States. So you have to print more money. And you get this cycle and people realize, well, just like our currency was valueless, the US dollar is actually valueless. So now again, we're all paying with QR codes. We've all switched to one currency already, which is the US dollar. Why not start trading and bartering with something more intrinsically valuable like gold, like silver? And then that's what gets you into the thesis. Well, we have Bitcoin, which is sound money. It can't be printed. It's on the blockchain. It's traceable. There's no manipulation going on. And that's when you get to the Bitcoin thesis and like the idea where, holy cow, everyone could come on chain. And it starts with these countries who have worthless currencies moving over to the US dollar. And then that cycle repeats into Bitcoin. So it's wild. And so the thesis here was, well, stable coins are going to be massive because people are just going to start using stable coins to spend via QR code. And then neobanks are going to be massive because you're already using stable coins. Why not earn better yield on it? Why not actually have your money work for you, have different DeFi capabilities? And so that kind of came to me and Josh as one of the 2026 narrative predictions. Well, neobanks and stable coins are going to be big emerging technologies that do well in 2026. The question is that I still haven't answered. How do you really capitalize off that? I guess you can buy into specific neobanks. I would love to buy equities in neobanks, which isn't always available yet. And so the big three, I think, for us were neobank stable coins and then equities on chain, or private equities coming on chain via Robinhood.
Even better. So this actually goes into this, and then Chill will get your take. But Coinbase has this idea of custom stable coins where developers can basically take Coinbase's stable coin, white label it, and then they earn the percentage yield from the underlying treasuries that are backing those deposits. So if a developer, let's say I build a mobile game and users have deposited $1 million into this white labeled stable coin, I would earn the 3% on $1 million. So $30,000 per year. So it's a really interesting monetization model. So I think, to Dom's point, I think this kind of scales that thesis out like beyond just crypto native developers. And then the other one we had was ICOs going to apps like Robinhood, and that being a major like liquidity input into the ecosystem where, we need liquidity on chain, and that could be a major one. So Chill, any thoughts on the big 2026 narratives?
Yeah. What do you guys do you guys think ownership is a narrative?
Yeah, that was one of Josh's picks. Basically, it was that we're going to get these equities that are offered on chain on platforms like Robinhood and just becoming much more accessible.
Yeah, like I'm thinking ownership coins, but like on Robinhood kind of thing.
Basically, he had a really great conversation, which we needed to post actually. So we got to get Ashesh on that. But a really great conversation on where like the marginal buyer is going to be. And Josh made a great point. Well, in previous cycles, when we had ICOs and when we had NFTs and some like these really frothy periods in the market, the marginal buyer was crypto rich folks who had just profited a ton from Ethereum going up 700% and Bitcoin going up, 1,000%, whatever it is. So they had all this money in crypto to spend, but we're not seeing that with Bitcoin. Instead, we look into the equities market and stock market and commodities market, and we see, well, the investment rich people are the people on Robinhood right now who invested in NVIDIA, who invested in gold and silver. And so where's the money coming from in the next wave of projects? It's going to be those guys trickling down into our money. So Josh says, well, imagine ICOs and ownership coins on these retail geared platforms. They got the money to spend on it. And if they can get equities in private companies, and if they can get ownership, they will. And so it's
if a Kled was doing an ICO on Robinhood, like easily could fill 100 mil probably on Robinhood.
Yeah,
probably
easily, for sure. Yeah,
right.
easily.
Like, and so that then becomes a lucrative thing for Robinhood. That's a great business line for them. And, I think all the past point, and I've heard no one talk about this yet, which is ownership tokens or ICOs on platforms like that.
What if Robinhood were to Robinhood, if you're listening, an idea for you. What if they bought out like someone like Soar or like MetaDAO, and integrated it into their platform. So instead of launching on independently Soar, you now have exposure on Robin to
and that might be
users.
That might be the model, Chill. Like they basically say, oh, this ICO is up here, we got this amount of allocation, but it's settled, quote unquote settled on chain, where it's like it's a MetaDAO ICO, but it's offered through Robinhood. And that's where you get that liquidity directly coming on chain, right? Like that directly goes into the trenches in a way. But yeah,
I would actually even say, I don't think we're using the word ownership. I don't think the retail really wants the ownership. I think they want equities, to be honest. So I don't know if the MetaDAO specific model would be something that they really eat up, just because it's not what they're used to. Like they just want ownership in the company. I don't know if they want the whole, even though I guess MetaDAO takes it a step further where it gives you ownership in the company, full IP rights, and controls over the treasury. But I just don't know if the average person that's buying NVIDIA wants to dip their toes into the whole MetaDAO model.
Got it. And I think overall, no one would really care like what that model looks like. As long as Robinhood puts the stamp of approval, they're going to be like, oh, okay,
True.
cool. Like, you know, as long as like someone else bigger than me has looked into it and clears it, I'm good. I think that's really going to be that. But all right. So top narratives for 2026. Number one, privacy. I think privacy is going to be huge. Number two, AI. I think that's also going to be pretty massive. And under AI, like it's not just AI, like it's AI agents, it's X402 payments that, you know, that involves stable coins and stuff like that. That involves like agentic DeFi, things of that nature. So privacy, AI encompassing everything. And then lastly, you know, I'd say ownership. I mean, I don't know if you know, meme coins are a narrative. You know, I would definitely put that in at number 4 maybe. But I think as long as there's, you know, as long as fear and greed exists, there's always going to be appetite for a meme coin. As long as money is sloshing around on chain from irresponsible traders that are chasing stories of 100x returns overnight, I think there will continue to be demand for meme coins, and the more gains that there are on chain, the more money there is to throw around. So just like, you know, times of old where, you know, Ethereum 50x or 20x or Bitcoin 10x or whatever, you know, those investors, they invested in what they were interested in, which was more of the same, more of crypto assets. And so, you know, as long as we see these meme coins continue to go to hundreds of millions or even billions in valuation, the people that bought those meme coins will go and buy something similar, aka more meme coins. And so I think that's still going to be a pretty big narrative. But yeah, AI, privacy, ownership. Honestly, I really think ownership is going to be a big one. The overall retail investors, and I would even say all of crypto participants, have lost faith in crypto as an asset class. You know, we saw it happening just a few oh shoot. We saw that happening. 41 things I believe about crypto after surviving multiple cycles.
Let's read through this and just go through talking points. I want you to finish your thought. I just pulled up. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let me finish real quick.
Yeah.
So I think overall, retail participants and even a lot of people within crypto have lost confidence and faith in the direction of this market. A lot of people see that, you know, this just isn't serious, and people are openly mentioning that just crypto isn't cool anymore. Crypto has lost its luster. There's no stories of 100x gains overnight. It's all extraction and scams and this and that, and so it's lost its appeal. But I think, you know, when money inevitably flows to the most riskiest markets, which would be on chain, which would be crypto, I think the story that they would be most attracted to would be ownership tokens. Yes, there's going to be things, you know, AI and privacy that, you know, has a narrative that's appealing, etc. But overall, people will ask themselves, why am I going to buy this? What does this give me? And ownership tokens literally give them all the answers. So if I would put a number one narrative out there, I think it would be ownership, because even that encompasses privacy, like a Umbra. It encompasses AI. It encompasses DeFi like Solo, and all these other ownership tokens. So yeah.
Crypto Jones says Dom raised a good point. What is the best backing of a stablecoin? Maybe a treasury of gold, Bitcoin, SPX with a Futarchy model to back it. Yeah, so this is the good question. Because you know, people, and I saw this on Thread Guy stream the other day, and people don't understand. They're like, what do you think Bitcoin's going to go to? Like, is it going to be $300,000 a Bitcoin? And like, that's the wrong question to ask, because you actually believe in the vision of Bitcoin. It's not, oh, Bitcoin will be $300,000. Bitcoin will be $1 million. It's Bitcoin will be infinite dollars, because the dollar has no value. It is just Bitcoin, right? There is just Bitcoin.
Keeps going up.
Right. Well, it's not even that. It's just, why would you pair Bitcoin against the dollar? Because the dollar has no value. Again, it's a fiat currency with massive inflation. Like, it'll be nothing at some point. So if Bitcoin's $1 trillion of Bitcoin, you're still thinking about it wrong. You just need to think one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, right?
I think that's gonna be that for people to wake up to that reality. I think that's gonna take a lot of time. I think
no
the
doubt.
dollar, I think the dollar still probably is dominant 20 years from now.
Yeah,
Probably
but so
the
when,
only one 20 years from now.
so but when Crypto Jones asks about stablecoin backing,
I was gonna say, did Michael Saylor just join the call? I didn't.
but it's a very valid point, because you think about stablecoin backing, and if you go down the line we just talked about, where it's like going from random fiat that has no value, it's really inflated, to everyone going to US dollar, virtually, which is USDC, to realizing there is no value with USDC. Well, why is a stable coin even value? It's not stable if it's backed to a fiat currency that is inherently unstable. And so, what do you guys think? What's a good way to back a stable?
We gotta go through this massive upgrade cycle to the financial system, right? And you hear the SEC, Paul Atkins or Scott Bessent? One of the guys was talking about, it's not going to be crypto markets or digital asset markets and traditional financial markets. It's just going to be digital asset markets. That's what he said. He said they're going to be the same thing, which means that basically the crypto rails and what's being built now will become the financial system, which means the global liquidity, if you will, inside crypto is about to explode massively, right? Everything will be a stable coin. So that's more of the thing. Now, does that cause massive inflation and like fiat goes to zero and Bitcoin? I don't think so. I think it's just you're going to have a much more integrated system, and all of a sudden you have people buying, instead of 60 million people that have crypto wallets buying your meme coins, there'll be like, 6 billion people. I don't know. I think that's more
I guess
what's going to happen.
Very forward-looking, very, very forward-looking conversation.
The thing is, if you're asking what's the best thing to back a stablecoin, Crypto Jones, great question. I think it is gold, Bitcoin, and potentially SPX. But by SPX I mean SPX 6900.
Chill.
Just kidding. No, but seriously, I think if you're thinking about what's the best backing for a stablecoin, when you think of stablecoin adoption, at least within the regulatory environment that we have today, you're going to need to get to the point where you want to back a stablecoin by gold and Bitcoin. You're going to need to go through the dollar. You are going to need to reinforce the dollar, because the regulations right now kind of push firms and anyone that wants to back stable coins, they're going to push them towards T-bills.
Yeah, we already have this though, right? Like Tether is this. Tether has some Bitcoin, Tether has some gold, Tether has investments, Tether has the biggest buyer of US treasuries,
and in doing so, they're going to reinforce the dominance of the US dollar. That's the whole reason why the administration is pushing stable coins, is because it reinforces the dominance of the dollar.
Who is seller of treasuries after what happened in Europe recently? It's the Dutch pension fund. I'm pretty sure the Canadians sold treasuries.
Chinese.
We sold something like $600 billion of treasuries just recently, or at least we said we would, because of whatever's going on. The Chinese has been selling US treasuries, so they need to make up that slack, and so stable coins are definitely the way to do that. That's scalable and diversified too. There's think of how many pools of capital out there that are accessing that versus one politically motivated actor, if you were to take a specific government, for example.
Yeah.
I guess just to get to that point, it's gonna take some time. Actually, on that note, there's a tweet that just dropped while we're on stream, and I'll just this is the last piece I'll say on this conversation. It was actually a quote tweet of Mert's tweet, where Mert says, crypto is still civilizationally important tech, and we are all privileged to play a part in developing it. Updating existing monetary and socioeconomic graphs is not easy and will take years of relentless hard work, but it will work. So I guess that's the thing, that just my entire thought process for the entire world to wake up to the fact that this is the future, that it's not going to be, like Josh said, two separate kind of systems running in parallel. It's just going to be one market. It's going to be, everything is going to be on crypto rails. Everything's going to be on blockchain tech. And this kind of tweet goes through all of that, talking about how crypto addresses the inefficiencies and inequities baked into our current monetary systems. It will take years, for all this to happen. And I think as we see all of this adoption, whether it's DAOs or whether it's here in the US or in other countries or parts of the world like Africa or Asia, however you want to look at it, there's going to be opportunities for us along the way. But I think when if people start backing stable coins like gold and Bitcoin, I think we're probably beyond 2040.
Yeah, look, it's a far out thought. But essentially, Crypto Jones even says 1 Bitcoin is 1 Bitcoin. Was a purchasing power in the real world? Well, you would then start valuing purchases based on Satoshi. So when you break down a Bitcoin, you have a certain amount of Satoshis in a Bitcoin. You start pricing things based on the Satoshi value. And again, stable coins are only a means of bartering until the underlying stable aspect of it, if it's the US dollar, but the US dollar has no value, you don't have a stable coin pegged to the US dollar anymore. You have to switch it up and do something else. So like Bitcoin does become the stable coin in a sense, right? It becomes what's everything's pegged to.
Yeah, I would say just like the US dollar was, backed by gold before 71 or whatever. I think it's going to be similar. Like there's going to be a stable coin backed by Bitcoin, and that would be used globally. But
you wouldn't have to have a stable coin backed by Bitcoin. It would just be Bitcoin.
Yes,
because there's
but isn't that the thing though? Like, so Bitcoin, Bitcoin is slower. That's like why, how could
I guess you could put Bitcoin on like a layer 2 or on a different chain to like transact it quicker, but it's still like gonna be a Bitcoin.
I think of Bitcoin as a reserve asset. That's what I think of it as. I don't think Bitcoin is something that you would use to buy and sell goods. I don't think that I think Bitcoin as a base layer, as a backing and a reserve asset, and then something on top, aka a stable coin. I don't think it's going to be a long time.
I'm confused what you mean. Like a stable coin on top of Bitcoin, as in like Bitcoin is being wrapped and you can transact with it quicker, faster, and cheaper, but it's still Bitcoin as a stable coin, or it's
instead of T-bills, it's Bitcoin.
I'm not tracking.
Man, I'm just thinking it's just going to be T-bills, at least for 99% of this, for most of this.
It's going to be a T-bills for a lot, but that's my point though. It's going to be a long time. Well, good conversation though.
Yeah. Look, it's philosophical in nature.
Good thought experiment.
Thought experiment on 2026, but I think we got those directionally in an interesting place.
But it's pretty, it's just wild to think about.
Anything else to cover, guys? I think that was a pretty good stream. We can kind of cap it there, unless there's any other tickers anyone wants to find out about.
Let me see. I think
maybe let's quickly cover the Bags app update. They had an update just on over the weekend to try and solve some of the Ralph problems. Thoughts on this?
Yeah, this is good. And it seems like you've been using the Bags app. I know you've been buying some pretty low cap tokens on the Bags app. Josh, are you using like the actual Bags app to purchase these? Or are you going through like Axiom or Photon or Jupiter?
No, I'm using Mobi Mobile actually, which is very good.
Josh
by the
is
way.
out here.
I'm out here. I'm like, all right, I'm getting into Mobi Mobile. I've been bringing over some wallets. I'm liking the experience. And then I saw this, so I made a trade on Ralph, which did okay. Made a 1.5x on that, so I was happy with that. And then I just felt like the Ralph story was way oversold at like 500K, and then it went up to like 800 or something. But yeah, and then this dropped. So here it's just like I don't know if there's anything actionable here other than they're thinking about how they can like create a more aligned system. And the
Freaking
sad thing,
ownership, man.
The sad thing is I agree ownership, but like, and we talked about this on stream as well, as like when the claimer goes to claim it, that they must enter into some sort of agreement. I'm like, look, I get all that. However, MetaDAO made its mechanic work without any of the legal ownership paperwork, in a sense, through Futarki. And so like maybe there's a space where there isn't like a legal agreement and it's just kind of like structural in nature. And I hope Bags App does solve this, because they are getting PMF for, you know, getting, like the guy today knew nothing about Bags, knew a little bit about crypto, you know, so.
Yeah, well, even MetaDAO has, you know, contracts that need to be signed.
They
right?
do. To be fair, they do, but the core mechanism, which is enforcing it, is currently on chain, right? It's not the PDF that's, you know, doing the voting that we just talked about with ZK, whatever. Like that mechanic is truly on chain.
Right. Rather, MetaDAO is a smart contract with incremental distribution to the founder, which
Right.
is
Like
voted
I'm talking
upon.
about like the core mechanics that move the value is not PDFs for MetaDAO. It's on chain smart contracts.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what Finn has to say about this, because they're making steps in the right direction, you know, which we have been begging them to do. Finn said, our goal with fee sharing has always been to align incentives between creators and traders. We're introducing dynamic fees and vested earnings to align incentives even more. So dynamic fees and vested earnings. I would imagine by this, they mean as the market cap raises, fees maybe drop a little bit, or they're dynamic by nature. And vested earnings to align incentives even more. So you earn 50K, you know, you can't cash out that 50K in one go. You have to, it's vested over, you know, a month or whatever it might be. Keeps the creators there. And I would imagine this means if they just stop showing up, you can block those being given out. But what happens to the money, right? Because if I'm a creator, I made 100K in fees, I can still push it for 2 days. And then if the fees are going to still be distributed to me for the next 2 months, like I still get paid. It just takes a little bit longer. So there still needs to be like some sort of blocking mechanism to be like, okay, this guy's not really delivering on his word. We're going to stop giving him payouts. So I'm not sure really what that entails, but steps. Creators will begin investing token supply as part of their earnings, with tokens unlocked and converted to sold programmatically over time. This keeps creators aligned with their community and will solve for any sudden or unprecedented moves. In addition, we will be introducing an auto compounding liquidity so that fee structure and liquidity improves for all stakeholders as projects scale. And most importantly, for all the builders supporting their communities, we see you. You're the lifeblood of this growing ecosystem. A few bad apples will not spoil the bunch. The revolution of on-chain innovation will continue on Bags App. Butchered that, but yeah.
Ave also said there was a new article dropped by good article reposted by Street. Long read. Can we just TLDR over to Street real quick and just see what this is?
We'll scan it. And Kings on ICM, man, we have nothing more on this. We keep getting questions about ICM. It's chart looks like shit, obviously, but all we can say on that is I think they're working towards their staking program. They're trying to deliver returns to ICM stakers. Like that's priority number one. But I have no more comments on that really at the moment, unless you guys have something to say on it.
No, you pretty much took the words out of my mouth.
The only thing I'll say is there was an article that they published talking about like $1 million a month in fees or something like that. And, you know, looking back in hindsight is obviously 2020, but I think that article was a little like,
I got you.
A little, I don't want to say irresponsible, but like probably should have come with a lot of caveat, and maybe it did. I can't recall off the top of my head, but look, if they can nail some launches that do get those fees, then that's one thing. But yeah, man, I don't know. I just tough, definitely tough on ICM, and we're huge supporters. We want ICM to win. So,
so this is
that's the article.
It's the article that they reposted. This is not actually their article. It's from JU, and we're gonna get an article out based on that conversation Josh and I had the other day and just had again on just where you know who's actually buying our bags and like the future of it might be similar to this. So TLDR, it's pretty long. I'm gonna zoom out here and just skim the topics here.
Well, I think this is, if I were to understand this. They're talking about different phases of capital formation and
Yeah.
where they fit in the ecosystem. So on the far left, pump, simple idea. Then the creator phase, a little more legit, kind of what we saw with Believe. I would put bags in the creator phase. And then venture, where it's more structured. There's paperwork, PDFs, but also mechanisms for around voting. And then I don't really agree with the ICO phase being the exchanges, but sure. And then the public asset phase, and this is kind of what we were talking about, even with like Robinhood might play further down the left side of this curve. But yeah. Maybe go ahead. Sorry, Dom.
No, this is a long article. Chill. You got something to say? No.
I'm just skimming the article, seeing what I can find from it. Interesting article read. So
I'm just gonna skim. I'll just read the first line here. Internet capital market has been one of the hottest buzzwords of the past year, but what exactly are these? Too often people lump everything into the broader concept, from Punt Fund to Sonar to X stocks, sometimes even including stablecoin payments, neobanks, and lending protocols. But this conflates fundamentally different financial instruments with different value accrual and ownership structures. In my view, internet capital markets are another way of saying using tokens to finance things. I think that's a fair way to look at it.
So he's basically in this article, he's going through the life cycle of these ICM platforms, and he's asking the question at the end of, okay, where does the value accrue? Right now, he's saying that in phase 1 and 2, it accrues to the platforms like Pump Fund. In phase 3, things start to, get a little better. He says here, in these cases, the launch platform is only the medium of access. And oftentimes in the ICO and public asset phases, not only the medium through which you can have exposure. The higher quality the fundamentals of an asset are, typically the more leverage it can exert over the issuance platform. He said, he quotes Cled here. He says, we see this with Cled, for example, a breakout crowdsourcing AI data marketplace that started its journey on Believe, but migrated to Street after token controversies. So I guess he's kind of trying to map out like where are things headed. And in the very final section where it says what's next for ICM projects, he says in the second paragraph, what might be interesting to observe is how these two phenomena may converge in the middle of the ICM lifecycle in phase 3 and phase 4, the venture and ICO phases. Already through mechanisms like Street and MetaDAO, you see inklings of how tokens financing can expand upside exposure to projects in the venture phase and potentially capture upside of projects that have socially productive use cases. So he said, granted, how this venture ownership token relationship plays out in the long run is anyone's guess, hinging on multiple legal, economic, and governance uncertainties. I guess he says ICM could make the world a better place, I guess, at the end there. I'm kind of missing and again, it's a very
Who's
huge
Jay
article. We tried
Wu? Yeah, go read
Uh,
it, guys. But if you click on his thing, Pantera Capital.
Yeah, researcher at Pantera Capital. I'm looking at this thing here. Oh, I didn't even know my screen was the screen that was on. Wow, my bad, guys. But I guess the point of this article here is just mapping out where we are. I don't think there's any like call to action or anything like that. And I think his idea of this isn't really, he's not saying it should go from anon to creator to venture to I think I don't think he's saying that the end game is public asset phase. I think what he's saying is between venture and ICO, we might have figured something out, but we don't know where regulations will land us. And so there's still other questions that need to be asked.
Yeah.
Again, didn't read the article, skimmed it in like the 2-3 minutes that we are here on stream. But
hey, play this forward 6 months. I think we're on the right track, to be honest with you. Like, that's what I get.
I think TLDR on like the right track is again, that same conversation we had. We have so many people that are up massively on equities that want access to the SpaceXs. They want access to the private companies. And right now we're seeing Robinhood make a push, and some other platforms, XStocks, Pre-Stocks, make a push towards offering these. And people want those, right? Retail wants access to this. So can we now give retail access to private markets? And is that a plausible market that would make these platforms a lot of money? I think the answer is yes. You got to follow the money. Would Robinhood be able to make a lot of money by offering private markets to retail investors? I would say 100% absolutely. So are they going to? And would retail investors like to buy private stocks? Probably, yeah. So I don't know if that's even in line with this conversation, but that's kind of how I feel
Yeah.
about direction of.
No, I think
XMT.
think it is. I think it is. If you guys look at the and this is kind of like going off just a little bit, but if you guys look at the Russell 3000, it's basically indicating that the market it loves risk. If you look at how much investors globally are in cash, it's at like historically low levels. So in other words, people are taking risk and they're keeping cash inside the market. And so I feel like if someone like a Robinhood were to say, hey, like here are these kind of more riskier assets, but they give you potentially greater returns with your money, then you actually stand a chance at kind of outperforming, what you would have done with stocks. I think people would go for that. But I think that's the natural flow of markets. I mean, that's the natural flow of alt season. People go from Bitcoin, the safest asset, down the risk curve. People go from the Mag 7 down the risk curve. And I think as these two separate traditional and digital asset markets converge on each other, you'll see this same flow of going from safety to risk, but it would look different, especially when the assets are in and of themselves different with ownership. So risk is, people are getting more comfortable taking risk, and if we can introduce some high risk, high return assets to these people that like to take risk, I think that'll be bullish for crypto, and I think that's why ownership is a pretty big narrative.
We're also just in a gambling epidemic, right? Like everyone,
100%.
Look, literally, I was watching the football games yesterday on Robinhood. You can bet on prediction markets for these football games. It's like we're in a gambling epidemic. People like to gamble, and whether you like it or not, sometimes investments can be a form of gambling, and especially these more highly risky ones. So there's definitely appetite, not only from just like the smart money investor, but from the average retail dude that gets a thrill out of investing in private companies that are very volatile, or any company that's very volatile.
Yeah, 100%.
Dude,
this was.
Man, guys, I don't know. You know how I told you I bought WSB?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on, but the guy said, all right, I got to share this because this is on Bags, by the way. And guys, this is the most degenerate level you'll see Josh go to. So just keep in mind. But
Josh is out here on Moby Mobile.
On Moby Mobile, but I will say I'm a huge Wall Street Bets fan. I remember those days. I love the community. And if you just kind of come over to Wall Street Bets and you come over to my X profile, you'll also see that Wall Street Bets follows me on X, right? He only follows 2,700 people, but just a little, little live flex. So anyways, I actually have DMs open with this guy and I sent him a message. Right here, he keeps claiming fees on Bags. So right here, claimed again, you should know what is coming. Well, we don't know. Apparently, Finn has been interacting with some posts related to this token on Bags. Now, guys, I have no clue if this is it or not. There was a apparent tweet that the WSB account put out that he then deleted afterwards, and it had caused quite a huge candle on WSB and then right back down. However, he said there would be some news today on, kind of what's going on. And so I'm looking through Wall Street Bets. All of a sudden this pops up. So he starts talking about, basically there's a conference happening at this weekend, but Reddit has been trying to get them to stop
that conference. So 3 days ago, Reddit sent them a cease and desist. Now, the backstory here with Wall Street Bets is Reddit claims that they own all the communities on Reddit, including all the IP and naming that's included in that. And they then extend that ownership out to the rest of the internet. So basically, any Wall Street Bets community on the rest of the internet is apparently owned by Reddit. And so they're fighting basically this kind of in court. He's been fighting this for absolute years. And so they're calling their conference now Redacted Live. So anyways, why I mention that is because Wall Street Bets, if you think about what it was in the early days, it was a movement. It was like the little guy versus kind of, the big hedge fund that was shorting GameStop. Now, he's now trying to rally, I guess, let's say, the world to push back on this Reddit, kind of thing and saying, hey, like, I created this brand, I created this IP, and like, you don't necessarily own the whole internet. Is it going to be a big thing? I do not know. But it is on Bags, and the guy is claiming fees. Now, he hasn't talked about the token other than a deleted post that I don't know is real or not. So go do your own research, but very degenerate. But if it does become a thing, like Diamond Hands stay strong, if I don't know if it does become a thing, you heard it here first from Josh. So, and if it doesn't become a thing, then it's moon or dust on this one, but it's like 120K on Bags.
If he dies, he dies type of play.
So I'll live or die by it. But I think it's a perfect use case for Bags though, if I'm being real. So
Bags has a place somewhere. They just have to. They just got to carve it out. The idea's there. They have something. They just gotta solidify it.
Yeah. The last thing is like on Bags is I went through the onboarding flow last night, and I was like, man, this is a smooth onboarding flow. If I were to think like, what way could you bring on 1 million normie traders from a Reddit community? Bags app, 100% it.
I think I have like one more quick thing just to get it out of the way here. Meteor just the 3 months post TG is finally done. So now any unclaimed Meteor tokens has been reclaimed by the Met team. Chart. Yeah, so 3 months after TG, Met airdrop claims officially closed on October 23rd, 2025. Met conducted its token generated bet with day one circulating supply at 48%. 10% were left unclaimed, which the team has now taken back. You can no longer get those, and that will be, in its treasury. Soju says, we've completely mirrored TGE with a 39% airdrop, of which 30% were unclaimed. The future is bright with tokenomics designed for long haul. So 9% is that we thought was going to be in circulation is now not going to be in circulation, and the team will actually use that at their discretion later. So I think that's pretty bullish. So I had to share. But
let's flip to the Met chart. Let's flip to the Met chart, and I'll close it out with this. Guys, I've been like super uber bullish on Met on the timeline, and I've been like banging this drum. But I think look, Met is looking absolutely fantastic. I said on the timeline, below 30 cents, I'm a DCA'er. I'm a DCA'er below 30, baby. So we're looking absolutely good. I think on Met, the token, this is the final kind of stage here, that the final boss, if you will, this red box before things actually get going. But look, Met, I'm absolutely bullish on, man. Look, it's looking so good, and it's forming a nice little bottom. But that's it for me. Met is looking good. Love their latest update, and yeah. Let's I guess that might be it. We started with the Penguin, so let's close with the Penguin. Hit it down.
then your children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only like 11 people alive of the 200 and something crew, and the entire ship was rotting down to the waterline. That's destiny. That's will. That's striving. That's being a trailblazer and explorer. Going into space, mathematics, quantum mechanics, the secrets of the universe. It's all there. Life is fiery with its beauty. It's incredible detail. Tuning into it. They want to shatter your mind talking about Justin Bieber. And your children are turning